On a distant path, a magical portal suddenly opened, startling the birds and beasts in the branches. On the other side of the door were towering buildings with no visible boundaries, and a stallion slowly stepped out. Wearing a wide khaki trench coat with light gray skin, dark blue mane, black frame glasses, and a jazz hat. This simple description encapsulated all there was to him. A little Pony Maria. Ponyville. After such a long time, it was still so beautiful. And now, he had the ability to do something to make the last trace of sadness in this magnificent land disappear, until it became flawless beauty, turning into a true fairy tale. Then, I have no choice but to take on this responsibility. He whispered softly and walked down the hill. Ponyville. In the town before the story began, it was lacking in joy. Perhaps it was because the little pony who could call out the names of all the foals had not yet appeared, or perhaps it was because the majority present were the older generation, who had already faded in vitality. He walked along the street, tightening his trench coat, glancing left and right, and finally chose a white mare wearing a nurse's hat. The medical profession made ponies more aware of time. The stallion half-dipped his hat in greeting, seemingly trying to shield his head. He wore a gentle smile, slightly restrained, yet still maintaining a gentlemanly demeanor. But he seemed unaware that this display of etiquette was still quite fresh for the so-called rural Ponyville. Oh, of course, no problem, today is already. The stallion listened quietly until the words finished, then expressed his gratitude. Thank you. Your kindness enhances the beauty of your naturally lovely appearance. Oh, don't mention it. Helping ponies in need is my responsibility. The sudden compliment turned into a faint blush, adorning the mare's cheeks as she slightly nodded, placing her hoof against her chest to calm her racing heartbeat. Wait, you. Sir, did you used to live in Ponyville? I feel like I haven't seen you around. Residual Twilight. It's a pleasure to meet you. Missed it. I left Ponyville many years ago due to work, and the ponies who knew me are probably long gone. Fortunately, the ponies and things here are as beautiful as before. The mare's face flushed even more, feeling flustered as she took a step back, accidentally knocking over a potted plant from the nearby flower shop. Hey, only the lingering sound remained. A silent laugh. May I have the honor of buying this flower? The stallion picked up the flower, subtly infusing it with vitality. The stem stood upright again as he took a light sniff, seemingly praising. The fragrance is overwhelming. A fine horse grows a fine plant. If there is any money left, may I come back to the shop another day? You must come again. There were still 8 years until the plan began. Returning to the corners where no ponies cared, Residual Twilight quietly organized his thoughts. After a moment, it seemed he had settled on the first goal, shedding his trench coat and tossing it into the black-green portal behind him. Facing the cloud city under the sun, he spread his wings. But unlike other pegasi, Residual Twilight's wings appeared unusually large, with significantly fewer feathers. And in the gaps revealed, it was not flesh, but wing membranes. Boom! The wind whipped through, nearly creating a sonic boom. But even the strongest storm probably couldn't sweep away the troubles in his heart. Why? Why can't it be cured this time? Last time clearly. At this moment, a quarrel erupted in the hospital of Cloud City. The cause was a young foal who had been struck by lightning during flight training. The argument was thunderous yet delicate, like the buzzing of mosquitoes. Because apart from the parents, no other pony cared about the last place. In a hospital room, the young foal, Dull Little, heard her parents arguing with the doctor outside the door, the quarrel, and finally, the crying. She knew why this was already the second time. The first time, her family's financial struggles left them powerless against her eyes, and this time, all the ponies chose to give up. She pretended not to care about the repeated drops in her flight rankings, continuing to be a good classmate, a good child, until now. Even her throat couldn't produce a sound, only silently shedding tears, accepting the arrival of mediocrity. It's okay. Perhaps living a life without worries and peace isn't so bad. Dull Little silently comforted herself in her heart, putting on a smile. Even without talent, nothing could take away her optimism. She thought about how she wouldn't have to worry about flying anymore, being able to enjoy piles of muffins, and perhaps in the future, she might meet someone different from herself, a clever partner, and they could complement each other, leaning on one another. Dull Little quietly thought in the empty hospital room, her eyes tightly shut, yet tears, tired of silence, kept streaming out, soaking the bedding. My child, until that gentle voice passed through the window, drifting into her ears, stopping the tears. You are creative, kind-hearted, and most importantly, you have the courage to face all the hardships of life, while most grown ponies would only kneel helplessly before fate. The voice praised her, allowing her smile to no longer be forced, granting her a ticket to peaceful slumber, allowing her to drift serenely in the sea of dreams. But perhaps it's because you are too outstanding, so outstanding that even the heavens are jealous, taking everything from you, forcing you to live a muddled life. In a daze, dull little vaguely sensed the tall gray figure before the window, those wings that could block the sky, and that last sentence, hidden with anger, yet providing immense comfort. With a few jarring sounds, the scorpion tail broke through flesh and blood, surrounding residual twilight. Realizing the stallion's intention, the scorpion tail slowly advanced towards the young foal, its stinger lightly pricking the wings wrapped in bandages. In an instant, the drowsiness deepened. Dull little on the hospital bed fell into a deep sleep. Even the smallest dose seemed hard for the young foal's body to accept. But residual twilight firmly believed that she would be reborn like a phoenix, blooming with unparalleled brilliance once again. Because your resilient soul is worth as much as any supreme talent. The stallion leaped out the window, soaring over layers of stacked clouds. Inside the hospital room, only a dark blue feather remained. 3 flickers of dim light flashed in front of him, and flight ceased. Residual twilight landed on the ground, pulling out the glowing egg from his pocket. And when the dim light flashed again, all remnants in the stallion's eyes were swept away, leaving only reason and obsession. Chapter 1. The Logistics of the Mare. Thank you very much, Mayor. If there is anything uncomfortable about your stay, please let me know immediately. Thank you. You are truly a responsible mayor. Oh, my dear, one cannot be a mayor without being responsible. The mare with powder gray streaked mane smiled. Having experienced quite a lot in her years, she did not take the compliments to heart. She quietly put away the completed documents, adjusted her sliding glasses, bowed to the stallion, and then turned to leave. Sigh, Crescent Spiral breathed a sigh of relief. Glancing at the old house at the corner of the street before stepping inside, he slowly removed his hat, extended his horn, and began to use telekinesis to tidy up the scattered items and furniture. After all, a disordered room won't tidy itself. Oh, my child. The intelligence level of Ponyville's mayor is so low that even planning a competition is a challenge, huh? When everything was back in place, Spiral seemed to hear some faint sounds. Clang. After finishing up, the stallion stepped out the door. The first item on today's agenda was to visit the couple who ran the cake shop on the street. Besides greeting the new neighbors, he also intended to establish contact with potential chaos candidates in advance. But calculating the time, the Rainbow Sonic Boom is about to happen. I wonder if the return of the first place from the flight training camp will have any effect on the Rainbow Girl? Or will a brand new colorful Sonic Boom be born? Crescent Spiral curled the corner of his lips, as he seemed to understand Celestia's method. Cultivating a little pony by himself is indeed a lot of fun. Knock knock. The stallion knocked on the door and took a few steps back. Here it comes. A blue-skinned mare with magenta mane pushed open the wooden door, her gaze meeting the light, gray chest of the stallion. Wow. Surprised by the height of the unfamiliar stallion, the mare gasped but soon showed a calm smile and asked gently, "How can I help you, handsome?" "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Cake. My name is Crescent Spiral, and I just moved in next door." The stallion said he moved next door, but in reality, his residence was at what he believed to be the center of all important pony homes. However, a little harmless lie that fosters harmony is not a bad seasoning for a mundane life. Today's visit was primarily to order a batch of desserts from the best cake shop in Ponyville. Am I fortunate enough to have my wish fulfilled? Of course, sweetheart. You will definitely get your wish. Thank you, Mrs. Cake, but there's one more thing. Spiral took off his backpack, opened the flap, revealing various colorful seasonings that had never appeared in Ponyville before, which were hard to even guess the taste of. As a new resident, I would like to bring some small gifts for my future neighbors. Whoa. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed above the boundary of the everfree forest. A little bird flying by was so scared that it froze in midair and fell straight down. Thud. It landed not on a branch or on the grass, but on the head of a khaki bear. He picked up the little bird from his head and gently placed it in a nearby bird's nest, completely ignoring the protests of its original owner, and walked away slowly. The previously deafening roar was merely the bear's yawn upon waking. Nearing the forest boundary, the bear slowed his pace. At that moment, he encountered a pony. No, a horse, who, upon seeing him, neither panicked and fled nor fainted on the spot. How novel. The bear approached the horse a little closer, wanting to ask about his purpose, but the language barrier meant his inquiry only sounded like a deep growl to the pony. "Bear, would you like to try some fresh cake?" Unexpectedly, the horse with windswept hair did not leave. Instead, it chuckled a few times and pulled out something from its backpack that resembled a short log, handing it over. Scratching his head, the bear eventually took the log, sniffed it, and was surprised to find the sweet aroma of honey. The bear no longer hesitated and took a bite out of the log. As the softness and sweetness filled his mouth, he buried his entire head into it, enjoying the feast. Log. The horse said this is cake. Cake, so delicious. Don't worry. There's plenty more. Crescent Spiral used magic to pull out platter after platter of cake from his backpack, placing them beside him. Seeing this, the bear gratefully called out, "Haha, no need to thank me." While licking the plate, the bear froze, realizing that the horse understood his words. He then happily called out again. It seems I brought too much. Bear, why not call your friends over? Sharing the cake will make it taste even better. Gur. The bear set down the plate and let out a loud roar into the sky. Before long, various little animals rushed out from the gaps between the trees, including the bird that had fallen in the morning and its original owner caring for it in the nest. The little animals crowded at the boundary, not daring to step into the grassy area where the bear and horse sat until both nodded, and they pounced into the pile of cake, devouring it ravenously. Bang! Except for the first arriving white rabbit. After sniffing the cake, he kicked it away with one foot, ran to the side, pouted, crossed his arms, and impatiently tapped his right foot. Is this what you promised? Clearly, he was not yet accepting of such unnatural food. However, Crescent Spiral was already prepared. Boss Rabbit, how about some new variety carrots? As soon as he finished speaking, a carrot as big as two of him landed beside the white rabbit, making his eyes light up and rubbing his hands together. Humph. Given his keen eye for seeing me as the boss, I won't give him a hard time. Not because of the carrots, the white rabbit thought while munching on the carrot. Hey, Boss Rabbit, how about helping me with something? Hearing this, the white rabbit stopped eating and turned to look at the stallion sitting before him. It's not a big deal. In the future, if any ponies come here and accidentally offend you, please don't be too harsh on them. They might just want to be friends but don't know how and ended up in a sticky situation. The white rabbit looked at the carrot in his hand, stroked his chin, and quickly tapped his little foot. After a moment, he seemed to come to a decision and smiled, nodding at the stallion. Thanks, Boss Rabbit. But I can't let you take care of these ponies for free. Every time I come, I'll provide you with a year's worth of carrots. How does that sound? Upon hearing this, the white rabbit nodded repeatedly, seemingly afraid the stallion would change his mind, and quickly came forward to shake the stallion's hoof. Deal. A few days later, a light yellow-skinned pony with pink mane screamed as she fell from the sky, and this time, the one who caught her was still a big bear. However, instead of landing on his head, she was cradled in his arms. Eek! The pink-maned pony sat down on the ground in fright after seeing the creature in front of her, crawling backward. Little did she know that behind her was a tall tree, leaving her no way to retreat. In her despair, burying her head in the grass like an ostrich, the big bear gently roared and stepped forward, offering the flower in his hand to the pony. When she opened her eyes again, she faced the smiling bear. Under the colorful sonic boom, a symbol of communication and love gradually appeared. Chapter 2. Old Fruits. New connections after negotiating with the animals at the boundary. Crescent Spiral continued deeper into the everfree forest. Afterward, he might come by every day to check. This ancient forest could hold many secrets and sorrows. Help! Is anyone there? Help my beloved! All right. Just as he thought, things were coming to pass. When he spotted a couple surrounded by a pack of timber wolves, he quickened his pace, smashing all the timber wolves into scattered branches like bowling pins. Then he stopped flying, planted his hooves into the ground, and inertia caused him to carve 2 wide trenches ahead. After successfully stopping, he immediately looked at the remnants of the wooden wolves, took off his hat, and cast a spell, summoning flames that soared high into the sky. It wasn't until all the branches had turned to ash that the release was halted, and he conjured water to extinguish the remaining flames, infusing life magic into the ground, causing the scorched grass to instantly regain vitality. The entire process was smooth and fluid. If it weren't for the couple still huddling nearby, shivering, it would seem as if nothing had ever happened. After organizing his thoughts slightly in his mind, Spiral walked over to the couple and slowly asked, "Who are you? Why have you come deep into the endless forest?" The pale yellow-skinned stallion with a red mane swallowed hard, protecting his wife behind him, and stepped forward. "Thank you, sir, for saving us. I am Blight Madish from the Apple family of Ponyville, and this is my wife, Pear Jam. We ventured into the depths of the forest to seek new apple tree species, with no intention of offending any beings here." Throughout his speech, although Blight was scared, he kept his eyes fixed on the tall stallion before him, slowly placing a hoof on his wife's back, ready to let her escape at the slightest hint of danger while he stayed behind. Spiral naturally noticed this, but said nothing, merely stepping back a few paces to give the couple some space. Additionally, whether there was an offense or not, it was likely not up to us ponies to decide. The wooden wolves were born from the forest's great consciousness, targeting only non-forest visitors. In everyday life, they are also protectors of this land. I just burned that batch of wood, which should delay them for about half an hour. But as long as ponies continue to exploit the forest, they will return again. We need to leave quickly. Okay, but my wife has sprained her hoof. Could you? Before Blight could finish, green magic flowed into Pear Jam's swollen leg. And in no time, it was as good as new. The last trace of fear on the apple couple's faces turned into joy and gratitude. Thank you so much. I swear, the apple family will repay your kindness. A howl from the distance interrupted Blight's words, echoing for a long time, making the ponies shiver. The repair speed of the wooden wolves in this era seemed to be faster than Spiral had anticipated. It seems it is still too early to discuss this. I will clear the way, and we should leave here quickly. All right. Spiral spread his wings, aimed towards the apple orchard, and began to swiftly cut through the trees again. Or should I say, the pioneering family? A woo. The increasingly close howls interrupted the stallion's thoughts. He slightly slowed down, using magic to lift the couple, and then tripled his speed, weaving through the forest, leaving only a red trail behind. We're almost there. Just ahead is Sweet Apple Orchard. As the dense trees became sparser and the white light coming through turned into clear fruit trees, the stallion began to slow down. What big eyes you have. No wonder you could leave the young apple sisters at home while the couple went deep into the endless forest. Although they were lucky to escape this time. I still have to nag you a bit. Spiral walked between the couple, straightened his expression, and said, life is above all. Don't pick sesame seeds and lose watermelons. Also, always hold respect for nature. When its great power truly descends, ponies are utterly powerless to resist. With that, the stallion relaxed his expression, nudged the couple's backs, and was about to turn to leave. Wait, sir. To be honest, I still haven't thought about how to repay your kindness. But at least, let the apple family provide you with a delicious meal first. No need. Your children being able to enjoy a wonderful childhood with their parents is enough. As he said this, the usually serious Spiral finally showed a smile. But if possible, when they reach school age, please take them to my corner store to buy stationery. The styles are always new, and the girls will definitely love it. By the way, please keep these wings and horns a secret. After saying this, before Madish could continue to persuade him, he spread his wings and flew far away from the apple orchard. From a distance, he watched as the young colt held his sister and ran into their parents' embrace, crying. This time, the cowgirl shouldn't want to leave due to boredom and sadness, right? The stallion looked up at the sky, and after a moment, soared high into the air. This world is beautiful, but there will always be a few fish that slip through the net. Fixing all the scars is not easy either. Everything is not yet complete. We still need to work hard. Hey, Skinny Bones, who allowed you to come here? I was just passing by. That's exactly what we were talking about. Ponyville, near Pony Academy. Whether in the sky or on the ground, these types of ponies who love to nickname and tease their peers seem to be endless. Even though the pale golden-haired white colt had almost buried his head in the ground, his voice was as light as a feather. These annoying ponies could always pinpoint him like they had radar. Look at you, skinny as a bone. No wonder you broke the teacher's guitar. And that ridiculous wing. So small it's almost invisible. Look, he's even preparing to lift that dumbbell. What? Planning to smash his own foot? Haha. If it weren't for you, we could still be in music class. Skinny Bones. I really didn't mean to. That guitar was too heavy, and you all made me. Dare to retort? You're going to be punished. The leading colt picked up a stone from the ground and threw it at him without hesitation. The other colts also picked up anything handy and threw it without discernment. And what about the white colt? He just hugged his head and silently endured it. Running would get him hit. Calling out would get him hit even more. It was better to endure it first. They would leave once they got bored. With this mentality, the colt sat still like a sandbag, letting the stones hit him. Enough. Until a giant rock fell, creating a large pit in the ground. The colt screamed and quickly scattered. The giant rock then split into several pieces, hitting the colt and driving them away even faster. It seems that flaws are far more numerous than the stallion had thought. Even in the most simple-minded Ponyville, the education of colts is still like this. Sigh. Spiral suddenly thought of the scholar who spoke of the inherent evil of nature in his second hometown. His childhood must have been filled with the warm hospitality of his peers too. Wait, this child is. Spiral's gaze fell on the barbell next to the colt, then carefully observed the colt's skin color and mane. After a moment, a figure with muscle and strength tags appeared in his mind. Because of its peculiar shape, that figure was exceptionally clear. Why do they treat you this way? Without thinking further, Spiral asked about the reason. The colt seemed somewhat hesitant, stepping back a few paces, stuttering for a long time before speaking. I broke Mr. Savic's guitar while helping him get the instruments. That guitar was really too heavy for me. Maybe they are right. I am just a useless skinny bone. Spiral didn't he listen to the latter part of the sentence. Upon seeing the colt's attitude, he had already made a decision in his heart. He knew that a single expulsion was only a temporary measure to address the root cause. It had to be accomplished by the colt himself. So he slowly spoke, gradually tearing open the colt's scars. No, they bully you because you are a punching bag. If you don't fight back, the next things they throw will be heavier than stones. Will you still endure it like this? Spiral, usually calm, gradually raised his voice as he spoke to the colt. Seeing him lower his head, his tone intensified. Stand up, don't lower your head. Seeing the colt tremble, yet still curl up, Spiral slowly walked to his side. Do you know what is most important for a pony? Courage. Without courage, no matter how much talent one possesses, in the end, one will blend in with the crowd and become a mere shell of a person. Yet once one has courage, even the weakest body can unleash a dazzling brilliance. So how will you choose? Do you have the courage to resist? Or do you want to continue being a bullied coward? Tell me, are you a coward or a man? I am not a coward. Lift your head and prove it to me. The weak little colt raised its head, its pair of red eyes meeting those of the stallion, and within them, there was finally a hint of determination. Listen, child. A comforting smile curved at the stallion's lips as he bent down and helped the little colt up. When they come back in front of you again, you don't need to say much. Just return everything they did to you with all your might. Even if in the end you are covered in bruises, you will have taken your fate into your own hands, rather than allowing it to be trampled by horses. Enduring in silence will never earn you respect. True dignity can only be fought for by yourself, with strength. Then, he felt something was about to grow within him, prompting him to stretch out his wings, and he couldn't tell if it was an illusion, but those often ridiculed mini wings seemed to have grown a little. There is no need to worry, and do not fear failure. Do you feel it? Inside your body, there has always been a strength far beyond that of other pegasi. You like lifting weights. Make sure to stick with this hobby and not waste your potential. When the voice appeared in his ears again, the little colt's eyes seemed to become even redder, filled with anger and determination, but he quickly detached from it. For the stallion who had helped him up had already walked far away, about to disappear into the street. My name is Big Guy. Thank you for healing my wounds. Very good, Big Guy. I hope when we meet again, you can truly become a brave big guy. Close your eyes, slightly lift your head, and take a deep breath. He picked up the stone that had hit him countless times before, feeling its cold temperature, but his heart became fiery. And that faintly visible cute symbol transformed from a barbell into a fist tightly gripping the barbell, turning into strength. Chapter 3, Colorful Foam Flying Training Camp. A little mare with pink mane flapped her wings twice and finally jumped onto the first cloud ring in front of her. She looked a bit bigger than the other kids here, but her flying skills still lagged far behind. Before she could show the joy of just taking her first step, she loosened her hooves and quickly slid down the cloud ladder, ultimately crashing straight into the summer camp's flag, dragging the flag along with her onto the cloud surface. Haha, well done, silly Ruru. Two colts rushed forward, not to help her up, but to take the opportunity to mock her. These two colts could be considered the leaders of the bullying culture in the flying training camp. Hey, stay away from her. Fortunately, where there is oppression, there will be resistance. When Rainbow Dash saw Ruru surrounded, she immediately flew over and stood in front of the two colts. She had been mocked by them before. How could she stand by when another little pony needed help? Moreover, this light yellow pony was one of her few friends in the flying training camp. Oh, what are you going to do? Crash and burn? Trash? Haha. Or how about I break your neck? A flash of light went by, and the gray-bodied, light gold-maned colt stomped one of the troublemakers to the ground, pressing his hoof firmly against his neck. Yes, that light yellow pony was also a friend of the timid days. She was one of the only two ponies who didn't laugh at her after her eyes were hurt. Silly days. Hello, first place. The little colt's tone was faint, clearly showing that the side effects of the treatment hadn't completely faded. Wow, you've changed so much. I almost didn't recognize your speed. Rainbow Dash, oblivious to Daze's tone, was astonished for a moment before crossing her hooves and putting on a tough face. She only chuckled lightly but didn't loosen the hoof pressed against the troublemaker's neck. It's not that I've changed, I've healed. Daze spoke to herself, completely unaware that during her words, a pink-maned pony had already hidden half of her body in the cloud, trembling incessantly. How about this? Let us race against you. Now at 22, it would be fair. If you win, I won't care about your business. If we win, then you can never, ever appear in front of Ruru again. Feeling the trembling hoof, Daze slowly bowed down, leaning close to the brown-maned colt's ear. But the premise is that you must give it your all while flying. Okay, we'll race. Good. The earlier threat from the troublesome colts was merely a momentary illusion. Get ready. Ruru shakily raised the race flag, trembling even more under the gazes of the surrounding ponies. Who would have thought that what initially seemed to be a matter that could be resolved by just being a punching bag would eventually develop into a race that all the little ponies in the Flying Academy came to watch? Go start. With the flag waved down, the four little ponies immediately dashed off in a straight line. No pony noticed that the already unsteady Ruru was spun into a whirlwind by the wind kicked up by the 4 ponies, ultimately falling straight down from Cloudsdale. Oof. Whether intentional or not, the brown-skinned colt who had just seen his companion being stomped did not fly far before crashing into a cloud pillar outside the racetrack. Abandoning the race on the spot, the other brown-maned colt, forced to give it his all, could only keep speeding up, overtaking Rainbow Dash while she was still lost in the thrill of flying and rushing down toward the next cloud ring. Hey, but how could the naturally competitive Rainbow Dash tolerate any pony flying in front of her? She flapped her wings even harder, like an arrow shooting toward the cloud ring, not slowing down even as the wind distorted her face. Finally, the brown-maned colt, blown away, fell to the ground and was eliminated. We won. Boom. The sound wave erupted, and Daze, who had long been worried, slipped behind Rainbow Dash in advance, while the strong wave of the sonic rainboom swept across the entire Ponyville. In that instant, the light yellow pony, lifted by the animals, was able to observe the rainbow she had never seen before more clearly. The turbulent waves shattered stubborn stones, and the little designer chasing after destiny got what she wished for. Magic intensified at the horn, and the most magically gifted pony triggered an unprecedented riot. A loud noise echoed in the sky, and the colorful spectacle brought lasting joy to the little pink pony. The wind blew through the fruit trees, and the cowgirl completed her first apple kick with her parents' company. And at the center of that rainbow light, the cloud that struck down miraculous lightning finally appeared on her blue skin, completing the connection of the fates of 6 little ponies. Wow, that was amazing, Daze. We totally blew those 2 annoying ponies away from start to finish. Haha. Crossing the finish line amidst the cheers of the little ponies, Rainbow Dash, lost in the thrill of breaking through herself, lay on the clouds and laughed heartily. Meanwhile, Daze, who crossed the line 2 seconds late, slowly walked to the side, covering the bleeding wound on her wing. In her eyes, there was also a hint of the vibrant light from just moments ago, but she did not lose herself in that brilliance. Instead, she also birthed a pursuit of her own limits. Yes, but we haven't resolved our issues yet. Huh, what? Nothing. See you at the next race, Rainbow Dash. Grr. Well, there's one thing that won't fade away. That is Daze's craving for muffins when she is hungry. AHM. Daze swallowed the last muffin in one bite, rubbing her belly in satisfaction. Although the cakes in Cloudsdale are also nice, nothing beats the muffins from Ponyville. Muffins don't lie, they don't despise her poverty, they don't hate her disability, they won't cruelly abandon her like other ponies. And of course, the most important thing, muffins are delicious. Soft, but not too soft, not too sweet or greasy. If she couldn't heal her eyes and wings, the muffins here might become everything for the rest of her life. Sigh, what good is talent if it's not utilized? What is often needed for success is more than enough. The gentle breeze blew away the worries of the young foal. She tilted her head back, feeling the sweat on her body dry, bringing a sense of coolness. And when she opened her eyes again, the dark blue feather floating by captured all her attention and thoughts. It was a moment of observation, a feather identical to the one framed in her room. She pressed her hoof to her heart, trying to calm herself. But if she missed this chance, would there be another opportunity to meet? The foal extended her hoof, wanting to catch the feather, only to see it drift towards the distant street corner just as she was about to touch it. Its speed fluctuated, as if it was guiding her. A vague answer began to form in her mind. She took steps, following the feather at a leisurely pace, afraid to disturb it, yet scared to lose it. One step at a time, little by little. When the sign of the stationery store came into view, the feather finally lost its strength and fell to the ground, the dust settling. She gently pushed open the old but very clean little door, swallowed hard, and stepped inside. Wow! Looking at the array of toys in front of her, the foal's eyes lit up. They were not only diverse, but also seemed unlike anything from this world. Even adult foals would likely be unable to contain their curiosity and momentarily lose themselves in it. Why would such a place be squeezed into a narrow street corner? Can I help you with anything? When the store owner's appearance came into view, the foal's doubts instantly vanished. That face, no. There was no need to compare it with the face in her memory, because the 2 tall figures overlapped as they approached. The foal dragged her body, her brain racing. In the end, she simply picked the snow globe featuring a big and small Pegasus from the nearest shelf and slowly walked to the counter. She didn't dare to look up, still fearing this was merely a fleeting fantasy, silently memorizing the name on the counter. Zanchi Spiral. I want this, are these bits enough? The foal placed all her savings, for bits, on the table. The stallion, however, never shifted his gaze from her and gently said, plenty, with the remaining bits. Can I buy another one, please? The foal's voice grew softer, tinged with a faint sob, as she lowered her head to hide her tear-filled eyes. What? Can I buy another hug? Of course, my child. When the stallion slightly spread his hooves, the foal finally confirmed that she had found her miracle, rushing forward. And the tears flowed uncontrollably down her cheeks. As the pent-up emotions burst forth, the signs of destiny began to unfold. Once, it symbolized that everything would turn to bubbles. Beautiful yet fragile, but this time, amidst the floating dream, a tall shadow also emerged. That was pursuit. It was the idol she couldn't let go of in her heart, and the pursuit of the glorious past before the fleeting brilliance. I'm so sorry, my child. I really want to help you more. No, sir, don't say that. You've given me so much that I can't possibly repay you. The foal rubbed her eyes but couldn't bear to let go, hugging the stallion's neck tightly again, until a sudden light hiccup interrupted her remaining sobs. She shyly released him and jumped down from the counter. You already have it, my child. I'm just returning it to you. The stallion chuckled, fixing the foal's mane that had become somewhat messy from the high-speed flight. She didn't know how much of this he could truly understand. In a week, the flight training camp will hold the new flight competition. Can you come watch me? Of course, I will be there as soon as I can. I will dedicate the first place to you. I definitely won't disappoint you. He simply smiled at the foal's earnest face. You don't have to dedicate it to me, my child. Just do your best for yourself. That is enough. Okay, sir. The unyielding pursuit. Where will the path of change lead the foal? Night fell. Zanchi Spiral pulled down the shop's curtains, stepped up the stairs, and walked into the bedroom. After placing the increasingly plump egg, now larger than her palm, on the bedside table, she lay down on the bed. Let us see what else can be done at this time. Chapter 4. The Heartstrings of Medicine. Sir, how many bits do I need for this? Mr. Zanchi. I want this one. All right, children, one at a time. On the fourth day in Ponyville, more young foals gathered at the stationery store, including many familiar faces. However, judging by the situation, she probably hadn't told Rainbow Dash yet. Here you go, child, a total of 6 bits. Thank you. She handed the last pack of toys to the last little pony. Looking at the toy shelf that was already 1/3 empty and the stationery shelf that remained full, she thought of the large sign at the door that read stationery store. Zanchi Spiral scratched his head, chuckled awkwardly, and looked out the window. The daylight was just right. Perfect for carrying out today's plans. Boom. Today, Spiral took a different route to the Eternal Freedom Forest. Halfway through the journey, he encountered tall mountains. Upon reaching the mountain path, he frowned and found himself in a dilemma. When Zanchi Spiral saw the hollow mountain peak, memories of the past suddenly began to assault his brain. Here, in the future, it would lure a red dragon to reside. But with it would come a considerable trouble for Ponyville. After a moment of thought, Spiral extended his horn and began to use magic, slowly replicating the broken stones and stuffing them into the mountain's hollow to fill it in. Having dealt with dragons in the past, he knew all too well the harmful black smoke caused by those red dragons. Even when he integrated into the dragon's body, the cough and other hidden ailments lingered for quite some time. Phew, the filling is complete. Not to mention, this feeling is quite similar to making models in the human world. It's quite nice. Wait, what am I thinking? The stallion slapped his head and sighed. Returning to the route. Clop, clop, clop. It's strange, really. The Eternal Freedom Forest seemed perfectly normal when he came, yet whenever other foals arrived here, they would say how eerie it was. Just in case, Spiral bottled some air from the Eternal Freedom Forest for future research. Sizzle. A rustling sound came from his feet. Looking down, he saw a flower resembling poison ivy dancing and emitting a ghostly glow. As his gaze moved forward, more flowers rushed to reflect, forming a sea of blue blossoms. Poison joke. A very cute flower. Whether in the past or now, its effects helped him through many painful nights during his transformation. Unfortunately, he had developed a resistance to this flower now. However, it still made for a good medicinal ingredient. Hey, be careful of those leaves. The zebra girl shouted. Seeing that the stallion's hoof was about to touch those blue devils, she immediately charged in, trying to knock him away. Bang! Well, after a brave attempt, the stallion didn't budge, while the zebra girl ended up sitting on the ground, shaking her head, her eyes filled with starlight. Hoo-hoo, don't touch those flowers. Don't worry, child, I know this is poison joke. I've already prepared its antidote. Oh, all right then. At this moment, the zebra girl hadn't yet formed any deliberately rhymed phrases, full of youthful energy. Knowing that the stallion was already prepared, she didn't get angry or anxious, brushed off the dust from her body, and began to act like a shaman. In the past, Zanchi, I saw your arrival in a prophecy. You want to recruit me, the master of potions, to prepare for a war that will bring change to all ponies, right? After speaking, the girl raised her head high, seemingly expecting praise from the audience. Generally correct, child. Can we go to your little cabin and talk? The zebra girl kicked open the wooden door and invited the stallion inside. However, The door seemed a bit too low, and even bending down. The door frame nearly hit his horn. Please sit. At this moment, the cabin wasn't cluttered with too many potions, making it appear quite spacious. Spiral found a spot in front of the cauldron, sat down facing Cola, adjusted his expression, and spoke first. Cola, I want to ask you about your views on the current 3 tribes, the earth ponies, the pegasi, and the unicorns. Cola had anticipated this, pretended to think for a moment, and began to speak eloquently. The pegasi are proud of controlling the weather. The earth ponies are diligent and dislike noise. The unicorns study magic and dwell at the top of the hierarchy. Each tribe is born different, with their own disdain and pride, coexisting only because of the sky horn. The 3 tribes once united for survival, but in the future, they will surely split due to life. Hearing Cola's words flow out like an open box, Spiral listened attentively until the last word, slowly nodding. That's right, Cola. And it might happen faster than all the ponies imagine. The 3 tribes, led by the sky-horned beast, are like a strong man pulling 3 ponies in different directions. Once the reins are loosened, the tribes will split instantly, and it's even possible that greater disputes will erupt during this time. I understand Celestia. Her thousands of years of hard work as the princess of the universe have exhausted her. Once she finds a new successor, she will probably let go immediately. The emergence of the first sky-horned beast princess has already shaken the foundation, and I don't believe the next generation of leaders can turn the tide. Once the 3 tribes begin to fight internally, will they cease when they lose the powerful enemies of the sky-horned beast, or will they wait for the next opportunity? This world is vast. The ponies not only need to reunite, but also need each pony to become stronger. After saying this, the stallion took off his hat and removed his coat, allowing his body to gradually return to its original form. Words can sometimes be weak, so I think it's better for you to see for yourself. Feathers, wing membranes, horns, dragon horns, eagle eyes, shark teeth, scales, sharp claws, flaming manes, scorpion tails. Replaced by trembling, powerless questions. What are you now? Everyone is, and yet no one is. To be precise, I might be closest to the chimera in the eternal freedom forest right now. I can't conduct uncertain experiments on other ponies, so I think it's only me left. Unfortunately, simple potion modifications don't work. Not only is the magic power insufficient, but it also involves the fundamental laws. The postnatal formation of the sky-horned beast is more complex than I thought and requires further research. However, at least, there is still hope. Upon hearing this, Cola took a few steps forward. After receiving the stallion's approving gaze, she gently brushed over the already distorted wings. In her half-open eyes, there was gentleness and surprise. But more than that, confusion. Does the potion modification hurt? At first, yes, but time will wash everything away. These wings and horn appeared when I was developing a toxin to treat the nervous system. However, I wish they had appeared because of the potion I took. The stallion spoke lightly, gently brushing down the zebra's right hoof. When those words brushed past her ears, the girl felt a bit more respect in her heart. You are admirable. May I ask how I can help you? Sorry, I may have said too much accidentally. Actually, I came to ask you for a small favor. There are some alchemical materials I can't conveniently fetch myself, and I need your help as a potion master. Spiral opened his backpack, and 2 scrolls filled with potion information floated gently in front of Cola, supported by green magic. She opened one of the scrolls, observed it for a moment, and revealed a relaxed smile. I'm not quite a master, especially in front of you. It makes me feel like just an apprentice. Cola stood up, put the scroll away, and then slightly bowed to Spiral. Thank you for your trouble. Although I won't be needing them later, I still remember many potion formulas from my time, and I copied some by hand. Take a look and see if you're interested. A notebook was handed over again. However, when it was opened and flipped through, the girl's earlier ease vanished in an instant. Muscle atrophy treatment agent, wing deformation correction agent, magic expansion reduction agent. Oh my, could these possibly be from you? In response to the zebra girl's excited emotions, there was silence and a smile. Sorry. Cola realized her loss of composure, closed her eyes to take a breath, and exhaled deeply. When she calmed down and opened her eyes again, they were filled with admiration for the stallion. It's okay. Well, my task for today is complete. Miss Cola, we shall meet again. The wooden door opened once more, and the stallion leaned against the frame, looking into the distance. The sunlight shone into the eternal freedom forest, but the fog was too thick for him to see clearly. The zebra girl walked to his side and looked out with him, asking one last question. Can I say one more thing to you, sir? Of course. When the voice fell on his ears, the stallion was first taken aback, then fell into thought for a moment. I understand now. Thank you for your reminder, Cola. After speaking, he stepped out the door, once again engulfed in the fog, his figure fading into the shadows. Cola had understood many things since she was young. If Spiral only wanted herbs, She could have simply asked, and she would have helped gather them. But he spoke so much to her. Either he needed her to do far more than gather herbs, or he simply needed a pony to confide in. A pony who also devoted her life to potions. Or perhaps both. Just now, when she touched those wounds, she felt something far more terrifying than pain. A kind of loneliness that penetrated to the bone. Cola was very familiar with this feeling. Once, when she was in her hometown, she immersed herself in potion research to compensate for her inability to use magic. Then, what about him? What kind of experiences had he gone through? What thoughts did he hold that led him down this path? Cola didn't know and had no intention of delving deeper, for everyone has their own vulnerabilities that are hard to speak of. But she, for the first time since arriving at Ponyville, felt a little less lonely. Chapter 5. Stationed in the forest on the 10th day of settling in Ponyville. Spiral had evidently become a king-like presence here. What kind of king? The king of children, according to the little ponies. He seemed to have a radar for those who needed help. Whenever a good child had psychological problems or was bullied, he always appeared around them in time, patiently teaching them according to their needs or standing up for them, just like he already knew. As for the bad children, if they refused to listen to reason, Spiral understood a bit of physics as well. Hey, Spiral is so great, we're saved. Gradually, some young ponies discovered that this tall stallion could solve not only psychological and physical issues, but also what they considered the most difficult questions in advanced mathematics and history, answering them perfectly one by one. Over time, some young ponies would deliberately pretend to be hurt to draw out Spiral, seeking help with their homework for the day. And when they found out that Spiral had opened a super cool toy store around the corner, the reputation of the name Spiral rose sharply. With many ponies flooding into the store daily, either making large purchases or crowding around the counter, asking a myriad of questions. It was a good shop, but now it seemed to be developing into the second academy of Ponyville. Unfortunately, this stallion had less energy than the average pony, so faced with the wide-eyed young ponies, he had no choice but to cut down the store's weekly operating hours and the daily number of questions answered. Hey, Beaky. Today's schedule is to deliver goods to the cake shop. 2 days ago, the new member who had just arrived here was delivering goods. When it was discovered that Mr. and Mrs. Cake were still present, the young stallion leaned close to the pink filly's ear and lowered his voice. I brought the party supplies you wanted. Upon hearing this, the pink filly leaned back, took a deep breath, and immediately screamed, "Woo! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Where are Grandpa, Spiral, and the others?" Pinky quickly shook Spiral's hooves a few times, then started spinning around him, climbing up his body and parting his mane, trying to find those party supplies. Pinky, get off Mr. Spiral, and you should call him Big Brother instead of Grandpa. That's very rude. Mrs. Cake, who witnessed this scene, exclaimed and hurriedly pulled the pink filly off the young stallion, as if she were pulling off a piece of sticky chewing gum. Ha ha ha, don't mind it, Mrs. Cake. Little Pinky is a good kid, just a bit too energetic, right? Yes, yes, yes. Spiral, who had lost a few strands of mane in the process, laughed instead of getting angry. Bouncing Pinky chimed in joyfully. Here, for you. Spiral took out a gift box and handed it to the wide-eyed pink pony. The moment her hooves touched the packaging, it left only 10 beautifully designed party poppers and a pile of torn wrapping paper on the ground. Yay, party poppers. Huh. Pinky immediately raised one of the poppers, aiming to launch it into the sky. However, Mrs. Cake, who was moving over, gave her a look that made her put the popper and her excitement away. Hee, let us save it for the next party. Mrs. Cake and Spiral exchanged glances and laughed simultaneously. Crack the hooves stepped on fallen leaves, producing a crisp sound. After leaving the cake shop, they headed to the next location. On the country road, little ponies were working hard on both sides, and the fresh air was invigorating. It had already been 3 days since the cowgirl delivered a whole cart of apples to her store. Her parents ultimately couldn't overcome their honesty and revealed everything about the eternal freedom forest and their family horse. However, this was somewhat expected by Spiral. At least they hadn't shared about their wings and horns, probably. Never mind, at least I can eat fresh apples every day, the young stallion thought. Taking a big bite out of the apple in his hoof, sweet juice spilling out, the scent delightful. What, after all? The member of the apple family who first dealt with the wood wolf and knew its dangers was none other than him. Spiral bro, hey. At this moment, Maytosh was speaking fluently, just like his father Big Maytosh, a sunny big boy. That day I went out to deliver apples. I couldn't go with Applejack to thank you. Thank you for helping our parents that day. Just thinking about my sister's expressions when I learned the news made me. Maytosh politely continued. I still haven't finished the apple products you gave me. They are really delicious, truly the best from Little Maria's apple orchard. At the end of his sentence, Spiral added in a teasing tone. But you have to take on the responsibility of the big brother and not let your irresponsible parents run away again, okay? Haha. Of course, the two ponies were having a great conversation, while the family elders in the distance finally found the location of their guests. Everyone, pay attention. The highest guest of the Apple family has arrived. Putting down her binoculars, Grandma Smith walked down the wooden platform, holding a loudspeaker, and came to her son, who was tired and sleeping under the fruit tree. After taking a deep breath, she shouted, "Brett, wake up and greet your lifesaver, you lazy bum." Hearing his mother's voice, Brett jumped up in shock. Realizing what his mother was saying, he quickly dashed into the house, grabbing his wife Pear Butter, who was still making apple pie, and ran straight to Spiral. "Mr. Spiral, welcome to Sweet Apple Acres. No matter what, this time, please let us host a feast for you, hee hee." "Yes, we have prepared a sumptuous apple feast for you." Brett chuckled awkwardly, clearly breaking his promise, and he wasn't feeling good about it either. Next to him, Pear Butter, after speaking, turned to the side and started whistling while her hooves kept drawing circles. To be fair, the expressions of the mother and son when feeling guilty were quite similar. "Can I sit inside for a bit?" Of course, Spiral broke the ice first, and the couple of ponies echoed, inviting him to go inside. However, unexpectedly, Grandma Smith happened to be coming out with the finished pie to welcome them. Her eyesight was no longer as sharp as in her youth, and without noticing, she bumped straight into the young stallion's chest, causing the pie to fly up into the air at an impossible angle. Smack! Fortunately, it was Spiral who was bumped into. He reached out his hoof to steady Grandma Smith and quickly turned to catch the falling pie. "Oh my goodness, did I just hit a wall?" Grandma Smith shook her head, realizing that she hadn't bumped into a wall, but rather a tall young stallion. "Young man, you really are the highest guest of our apple family. What are you saying, Mom?" Brett hurriedly stepped forward, pulling his elderly mother away to prevent her from saying anything that might offend the ponies. "Spiral," until the soft voice caught his ear. The ponies then noticed that a young filly had squeezed into the circle of conversation. "Who is it?" Of course, it was our cowgirl, Applejack. She was holding the now asleep Apple Bloom and had run over to Spiral, seeming like she wanted to say something but hesitated, fearing it might disturb her sister. "Hello, little Apple." Spiral smiled and reached out to pat the girl's head. Since her parents were still around, she had put on her cowboy hat, and her mane felt very soft. "Wow, haha, and you too, little Apple." The red-maned foal in her arms stretched her hooves, smacking her lips, still half asleep. As the young stallion reached out, she grabbed his hoof and giggled. By the way, I almost forgot the main point. Ever since the dissection experiment, Spiral had had doubts, which were only confirmed when he accidentally stepped into his second hometown during the War of Yun and compared it with the local creatures. The two types of ponies without horns were not incapable of using magic. Instead, they were born with it, but were unaware. For example, even though land ponies do not have horns, the special organs of flying ponies also have a natural affinity that can accelerate crop growth. Although they cannot produce magic rainbow apples, ordinary fruit will crystallize with sweet hearts and taste quite good. Spiral's land pony magic had undergone a mutation due to fusion, losing the effect of rapid crop growth. Now, to see if the land pony's natural affinity works on foreign species, he could only rely on other land ponies who live by planting. And the apple family, which relies on fruit tree production, was undoubtedly the most suitable choice in Ponyville. "Can I try to plant them?" Little Applejack spoke again, looking eagerly at the seeds in Spiral's hoof. "Of course, little Apple." The young stallion smiled and split some seeds, handing them to Applejack. The little girl thanked him and quickly ran to an empty space nearby, starting to dig. A hardworking girl. "I believe that Sweet Apple Acres will flourish again in her generation." "Yes, we believe so too." The ponies watched, both visitors and family, sharing their thoughts. As that little hoof covered the soil, watered by the magic of hope, the seeds sprouted instantly. Though the branches were small, they still bore fruit. My heart is the same. Chapter 6. The Speed of the Heart 451, 974, 3. At the corner stationery store, in the basement. Once used by the original owner as a wine storage room, it has now been transformed into a new experimental space by the young stallion. But that's okay. He is most lacking in the determination to start over. Beakers, microscopes, analyzers, computers, despite the industrial level of little Malia being quite backward. With the tools and knowledge brought from his second hometown, he can still set up this basement, which has only just been tiled, to meet the basic needs for daily research. For 51-7, he added the last two materials into the mixer and waited a moment. The two tubes filled with purple liquid and yellow semi-solid agents popped out of the outlet. Helix didn't look much at them and simply put them into his coat pocket. He was already well aware of the drug production process. What he lacked all along were the test subjects. Unfortunately, this time the drug still had no effect on him because the drug's base was his own genes. The genes that could give a creature fire-resistant scales, high-speed dynamic vision, high-density muscles, low-pressure breathing ability, and frenzied characteristics could cause quite a bit of trouble even if given to a rabbit. So, to be safe, he also prepared a targeted phagocyte. That is, the tube of yellow semi-solid. "Hello, is anyone there?" The calls of a young pony and the flapping of wings from the shop upstairs surprised Helix a little. It was only 5 in the morning. What little Pegasus could escape their parents' restraint and rush to the toy store so early? "Hey, you must be the store manager." Just as she peeked her head out from the stairs, Rainbow Dash immediately spotted him and flew to the stallion's side. "That's right, kid. How can I help you?" Cloudsdale looked around nervously, as if afraid other ponies would hear her, and lowered her voice. "Oh, I heard you have mini sculptures of the Wonderbolts for sale. So I wanted to come and take a look." "Haha, that's right. I'm the only shop in Ponyville that sells them. But they're not sculptures." Upon hearing Rainbow's words, the young stallion couldn't help but laugh. He walked up the steps, reached the top shelf of the toy display, and took down the top exhibit, a Pegasus team member with light yellow mane and pale gray skin. They are movable models. Look, the wings, hooves, and head can all move freely. There's also a DIY assembly version. Cool, I want the whole set. And I want the assembly version too. The young pony threw out a large bag of bits, exactly 24, clearly indicating she had not only inquired about the items, but also carefully asked about the prices. "Thank you for your patronage." By the time Rainbow Dash spoke, Helix had quickly packed the items and hung them on her hooves. Rainbow lifted the 2 large bags of models, her satisfaction evident, completely unaware of the weight. Why? Because they were all made of plastic. By the way, we also have non-movable blind box versions, which might contain hidden golden historical figures of the Wonderbolts, you know? "Oh, hurry, take my bits." Hearing the enticing words, Rainbow Dash threw out another bag of bits, diving into the various models. Thud, thud. 5:45. When the clock's hands quietly reached this moment, Rainbow Dash's shopping finally came to a stop. At this point, she was pulling a huge pile of bags, finally feeling a bit strained and needing to catch her breath in a few seconds. Nonetheless, her face still wore a happy smile. "Oh, Helix, is it okay if you don't tell the other ponies about my visit here?" The lower her voice got, the redder her face became. After all, before this, Rainbow Dash had thought that going to a toy store was a rather childish and uncool thing to do. Of course, Helix put away the bits and happily agreed. As long as the payment is sufficient, the customer is always king. "Wait, Rainbow, your flying training camp is hosting a new flying competition tomorrow, right?" Just as Rainbow was about to walk out the door, the young stallion suddenly called out to her. "Oh, right, what's up?" "Nothing, just wishing you good luck." "Hee hee. I don't need luck. I'll win first place based on my strength. I'm off now, Helix." With that, Rainbow Dash pulled a huge pile of bags and squeezed out of the shop door, slowly flying towards Cloudsdale in the sky, while Helix walked to the door and watched the rainbow pony leave. Strength? First place? Everyone has strength. But first place, there is only ever one. A woo. The tan bear howled at the sky, only to lower his head and sip tea in the next moment. By the edge of the forest, a little tea party was being held among the animals, initiated by a little pony with a pink mane. Giggling, "It seems Mr. Bear really enjoys the tea I brewed." A woo. The other little animals also received the snacks cut into small pieces by the girl, making happy sounds. As if everyone at the tea party was content and willing, except for one white rabbit. At this moment, he stood in the corner of the blanket with his arms crossed and a sullen face, evidently forced to attend this boring gathering by his animal friends. "Angel, would you like a cup of tea too?" Glancing at the unappetizing brown liquid, the white rabbit's face darkened even more, recalling the year-old carrots. He fought the impulse to kick the teacup away, forcing a smile and shaking his head stiffly at the little pony. "Oh, okay." As the gentle pony lowered her head to move the teacup away, the white rabbit immediately turned around and kicked out, wanting to vent his frustration, only to end up kicking a stone instead. Not only did he fail to vent, but he also hurt his right foot, letting out a William-style scream. Fortunately, the other animals were engrossed in the tea party snacks, and no one noticed his embarrassing situation. Otherwise, he would really want to dig a hole and bury himself. "You mean, Mr. Helix is coming?" A little bird flew to the gentle pony's ear, informing her of the arrival of another storyteller. A few days ago, she had learned about this young stallion from the animals. This made her curious about this colt, who also had the ability to communicate with animals. What would he be like? Would he look scary? But everyone said hello, Rarity. Before the girl was ready to face the guest, the voice reached her ear. Turning around, she saw a young stallion standing by the fence. A fedora, black-rimmed glasses, and a khaki trench coat. Still that classic and appropriate outfit. Neither scary nor exaggerated. Much less glamorous. After several twists and turns, only peace and comfort remained. "I heard from these kids that a little pony lives by the forest, and they all say this pony is gentle and lovely. Now it seems they were not wrong. Upon hearing this, the pink-maned pony immediately turned half her face red and lowered her head. I have also heard of you, tall and approachable. Thank you. It seems they have a good impression of me. The young stallion understood that introverted children often need their own space. So he didn't move forward, but resonated with her at the same volume. I came today to collect samples deep in the forest and stopped by to see you. How are you doing living here? Hearing the young stallion's words, Rarity slightly raised her head, seeming less restrained, and smiled. Very well, Mr. Helix. I enjoy being with the animals. Thank you for your concern. That puts my mind at ease. I'll be going now, Rarity. Okay, I'll see you off. I won't see you off. All right, let's have tea together next time. With everything settled, the young stallion continued walking into the woods, searching for traces of his target. Quack! Not long after stepping into the forest, a sharp cry came from the bushes. Without any unnecessary movements, his hooves transformed into sharp claws. Grabbing the snake chicken that pounced from the shadows, the young stallion adjusted his glasses, pulling the oblivious chicken closer, analyzing in his mind. Small size, destructive power within controllable range. Possesses special abilities, dragon blood, malice. A good experimental subject. Thinking of this, Helix no longer delved deeper, but directly pulled out the purple syringe, plunging it into the chicken snake's neck and pressing it down. In an instant, purple magic began to surge through the blood vessels of the snake chicken, seemingly threatening to burst it apart. The intense pain caused the snake chicken to lose consciousness. However, after a brief silence, its body began to struggle and grow violently, expanding from a size similar to a chicken to that of a small pony. Its beak and horns gradually elongated, and its entire head quickly transformed in the direction of a dragon. Roar! The furious snake chicken. No, it should now be called a chicken dragon. After a roar, its eyes suddenly lost their redness, replaced instead by a human-like submission. It retracted its clawed wings, took a few steps back, and bowed its head in submission before the stallion. Seeing this, Spiral let out a silent sigh, quietly putting away the yellow syringe, while activating the dragon vocal organs on its body to issue commands to the chicken dragon. From now on, you are responsible for patrolling the Eternal Freedom Forest. If you find any traces or clues of pink crystal shards, the Constellation Bear tribe, or the fairy flies, notify me. I allow you to increase your kin to assist you. As the words fell, Spiral opened a magical space and pulled out a frozen cow that had been prepared in advance, tossing it in front of the chicken dragon. At your command, my king. The chicken dragon performed a gesture of loyalty, bit into the frozen cow, and disappeared back into the grass. The stallion, after taking one last look at the moon hanging in the sky, turned and left. Tomorrow would be the flying competition. He would arrive at the venue earlier than anyone else to respond to an invitation. Dai Xiaoduo, that girl, she already possessed a talent for flying, coupled with perseverance far surpassing other ponies. If he added his potions or toxins, there was no doubt she could win the competition. But in his heart, who? The flying training camp, the training ground at night. The sky was silent, devoid of insect chirps, only the stillness under the moonlight, and the sound of a small pony flapping its wings and breathing heavily. After passing through the last cloud ring, she collapsed at the finish line. Sweat blurred her eyes, making it painful to open them. She could only replay the routine in her mind. Every turn was etched in her heart, at every acceleration point. Her wings knew what to do. But why? Why couldn't she go any faster? Under the pressure of failure, a tall figure appeared uncontrollably in her mind. But she quickly suppressed that thought. Yes, the remaining things, she had to rely on herself. Again, as long as she could be a second faster. She didn't care how many times she practiced. Dai Xiaoduo, your injury isn't healed yet. Listen to me, don't go anywhere today. Her mother tucked her daughter in, her expression brooking no dissent. The parents exchanged glances and then slowly walked out the door. They had many jobs to do today. Sister, the younger brother, Xiao Qi, who had been hiding under the bed, crawled out, wearing a headband with encouraging words. Unlike their parents, he hoped his sister would bravely participate in the flying competition because he wanted her to be happy. Xiao Qi, thank you. The young pony smiled at her brother, who had hidden under the blanket. She jumped up to the window, gazing deeply at the bright sky, then spread her wings and flew toward the flying competition venue. Woohoo! Come on, Rainbow! By the time Dai Xiaoduo arrived at the racecourse, the stands were already packed with spectators, cheers filling the air. Among them, the loudest was a pair of extravagantly dressed parents, cheering for their daughter. But the young pony didn't care. Every pony here, even if they all fell from Cloudsdale, had nothing to do with her. All she wanted to see was Kid, be careful on the road. Spiral waved at the slowly descending die, watching her expression shift from joy to determination. The die was cast. He had no more help to offer her. Now, he could only hope she would be careful and not hurt herself, then give it her all to compete for first place. Xiao Dai, what did you do yesterday? You look so tired. The rainbow girl immediately spoke to her flying partner from that day. What would happen when two ponies, both solely focused on victory, met? A loser would emerge. The one who defeated the loser would become the winner. Arrogant. Huh, I'm already qualified. Looking at history, am I not the only pony to win consecutive flying competitions? Am I not the only pony to turn the legend of the rainbow sonic boom into reality? Who else can qualify to win against me in flying? The word victory is only meant for me. Prepare. Start. Boom. This race began as a battle between the last place and the first. And you can absolutely forget about easily taking first place. Don't think. Don't think. Dai Xiaoduo accelerated again, the roar of the air growing louder, but Rainbow would only be faster. Approaching the limit, the speed produced a piercing explosion. The two ponies once again closed the distance. You chase, I chase. Whoever overtakes will face a faster counterattack, racing toward the threshold. The first cloud ring, the second. The third, they sped through, faster and faster, until no pony could see clearly. Even the seasoned judges were sweating profusely, unable to express their thoughts. Who would win? Who could win? Smack. 1 second. Not even a second. So close, within reach. She had already surpassed the record, surpassed herself. But it seemed that the life of the gray pony was one of unfulfilled desires. The answer from the heavens was always cruel. Just a bird that flew by. Just a bird that happened to fly by. Just a bird that collided directly with her head. She couldn't stop it. A strong sense of dizziness spread throughout her body. Why here? Why her? Lost. In a daze, she began to contemplate some things. In fact, she wasn't clear on why she so desperately wanted to surpass that rainbow pony. Perhaps it was because she was extraordinarily talented, gradually claiming the glory of first place, while she herself had faced continuous setbacks, unable to rise again. Perhaps it was because her family was wealthy. Even the first apple she bit into was gilded, while her parents could barely afford to treat her eyes. Perhaps it was because she was destined to trigger the rainbow sonic boom. And if the gods did not bestow mercy, she would shatter and collapse like the bubbles on a cute logo. Right. 7 bubbles symbolized the coexistence of fragility and luck. And a miracle had already occurred. On the night when everyone had given up on her, when she was on the verge of collapse, even letting go of herself, he gently descended, granting her rebirth. So even if it was just once, even if she shattered her bones and sacrificed her remaining life, as long as it was to prove to that merciful miracle that she was worthy, she would win this time. Once was enough. Faster. She exerted all her strength to flap her wings. As for the wounds torn by the fierce winds, she didn't care, nor could she care. And if they wanted to hurt her, so be it. Win. 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 If you want this broken flesh, just take it. Just let me win. Give me first place. The magic of her wings continuously surged forth, the colors of blood and mane blending together. Not colorful, nor gray, but a brilliant golden glow. Boom. When the golden sonic boom resounded, the white pony seemed to be inspired, looking up. Faintly, a voice emerged from within, informing him of the connection he had with the pony that triggered the new sonic boom. However, that probably wasn't something he needed to consider right now. Right now, he still needed to strive to reach the self he envisioned. Clang. The heavy barbell dropped, creating a pit, but the young pony regarded it as normal, lifting it again, allowing sweat to pour down, soaking the earth, while the scales that faintly grew at the edge of his hooves reflected his determination. When the champion broke through the finish line, the crowd fell silent. For she had given her all but only surpassed by half a hoof's distance. The final appearance was far from the glamorous image they had imagined. Broken and bloodied, the shattered wing bones struggled to support her, the wings drooped weakly, and the wind rushing by felt like a sharp knife, slicing through her freshly healed skin. What was her original skin color? At this moment, it didn't matter. Looking at the second-place finisher right behind her, a mere fraction of a second apart, she was unscathed, contrasting sharply with her own wounds, which were only met by a few drops of sweat. When she wanted to voice her discontent, the image of the first-place finisher fell into her view. And in an instant, all her grievances and unwillingness vanished without a trace. Her parents rushed down from the stage, cheering for the second-place finisher, lifting her high as if their own daughter had won the championship. What about the first-place finisher? She still stood there, giving her all. Like a branch stripped of its leaves, blood flowed into her eyes, her vision blurred, dizziness overwhelmed her, and her limbs felt soft. Thud. In the end, she collapsed. But not onto the ground. Instead, it was into his embrace. The eyes of the tall stallion were filled with myriad emotions, concern, worry, and reassurance, each of which brought her immense warmth. Did I disappoint you, sir? No, my child. You have shown me hope. Plop. Tears fell through the clouds, landing on the earth. The wide membranous wings spread open, protecting her body. Amid the delayed cheers from the audience, the girl's cries were heard only by him. Chapter 8. Rising as usual, Spiral pulled back the curtain, allowing sunlight to shine on the already cracked insect egg. Then, a horn grew longer, releasing magic to help it complete the final hatching. Whoa! Under the blue light, the insect egg shattered, and out emerged a larva with a horn and membranous wings. And a dark green mane. She let out her first and last cry after birth, then opened her eyes, resembling those of a cold-blooded predator. But what lay before her was not a cruel environment, nor hundreds or thousands of similarly hungry larvae, nor endless hunger, but a tall stallion. A stallion who had nurtured her with love to help her break free. Nay, when that hoof reached out to her, she instinctively neighed and bit down on it. But the expected genetic warning of being thrown did not come. Instead, she received a gentle touch. "Welcome to this world, child." He smoothed his mane, gently brushing away the remnants of the egg from her membranous wings, as if she had never bitten him at all. The larva was filled with confusion, but when she locked eyes with him, she couldn't help but feel that perhaps, at this moment, there was no need to think so much. "I hope you can always be happy and live your life joyfully." The sharp teeth slowly loosened. She looked at the hoof near her head, hesitated for a moment, and then pressed against it, embracing it tightly. "Sir." Spiral carried the larva down the steps, and a call reached her ears. Looking over, she saw a light golden-maned, light gray-skinned filly standing there. She wore a gentle smile that made the stallion feel a sense of familiarity. Upon seeing the stallion, her smile grew warmer and more affectionate. It was Daisy Doll. Since that day, she had grown a lot. In a physical sense, perhaps due to the growth factors from the healing hormones. The girl's height had noticeably increased over these 2 years, and because she had not missed a single training session, her figure was more elongated than that of the average filly. After finishing the flying training camp, she had to work early to repay her family's debts. So now she had become a new employee at the stationery store on the corner. "Sir, who is this child?" Daisy Doll walked over to Spiral, peering at the larva wrapped in a blanket. "A friend's request. Her name is Cocoon. Come on, say hello to Sister Daisy Doll." With that, the larva looked at the filly, her small hands moving up and down, as if truly greeting her. "Wow, hello, little Cocoon." This adorable appearance instantly melted Daisy Doll's heart. She leaned in and rubbed her nose against the little face, making Cocoon giggle. Ding ding ding. The sound of the bell at the door interrupted the interaction among the 3 horses. Daisy Doll volunteered to run to the front desk to watch over things. However, after a moment's wait, no customers appeared. Looking down, she realized that a group of equally small foals had come in. "Is there anything I can help you with?" The filly asked softly, but the foals remained silent. Just as she began to doubt what she had said wrong, the children exchanged glances, and then a wave of chatter erupted. "Sister Daisy Doll, you're so amazing. Can you teach us how to fly that fast? You've grown so tall. What did you eat to grow up? My mom always tells me to drink more milk. I want to see your golden sonic boom again. It was so cool." "Oh, okay, one at a time." Daisy Doll forced herself to stay calm, soothing the children to keep order so as not to disturb other shopping ponies. But the corners of her lips, which couldn't help but lift, betrayed her joy at this moment. Even though she had faced many such situations over the past 2 years, her reaction was still as flustered as it was the first time. "Can you give me an autograph?" A new question broke the silence urgently, leaving the girl momentarily stunned. Not because of the question, but because of the appearance of the one asking. That was a foal with its left eye and wing wrapped in bandages. Of course. She ended with a hug, passing on goodwill. The side effects of the toxin seemed to finally dissipate with the obsession, allowing sincerity to surface. The filly took the crumpled notebook and wrote her name on the pages filled with records of many pilots. Daisy Doll, this Pegasus, who had suffered 2 serious injuries. With a cross-eyed gaze, appearing somewhat dazed, still persevered, and through her efforts, triggered a new sonic boom in the competition, truly turning the legend into a reality, something achievable. Now, her experiences have been written into books, inspiring those young ponies who also find it difficult to fly for various reasons, encouraging them to muster the courage to start anew. "I'm proud of you, child." When the foals who received autographs and answers rushed out of the store, Spiral walked over to Daisy Doll, embracing her. After a moment of surprise, she wrapped her hooves around her as well, completing the story. Whoa! The larva's cries startled the 2 ponies. But when the stallion returned to pick her up, it suddenly stopped. She extended her hoof, pointing at her open mouth. The stallion understood immediately. "Looks like our little Cocoon is hungry. Daisy Doll, can you watch the store for a bit?" Okay, we're off." The stallion pushed the door open, and sunlight streamed in. As soon as they stepped out, the larva seemed impatient, starting to absorb the love emanating from the stallion. But whether it was because her appetite had decreased after hatching, or because there was more food available, she couldn't finish it all even after feeling full. Burp. "Little rascal, are you finally full?" "Whoa." Spiral gently touched Cocoon's cheek, laughing at how she appeared sleepy after eating. Then she opened the magic portal leading to the bed and gently placed her on the small throne transformed from the egg mass, continuing their stroll for the day. Hey, Spiral, how have you been lately? By the flower shop on the street, a light orange-maned filly spotted the stallion and trotted over to greet him. The stallion quickly recognized her. Of course, thanks to you. China, the flowers I bought this time smell delightful. Hee now. Most of the ponies in town knew the stallion's name. Tall, gentlemanly, kind, and generous, the ponies always praised him in the same way, especially the younger generation. For those who had received his help as children, the name Linksy Spiral had even surpassed that of the Ponyville mayor in reputation. Although the mayor might not have had much reputation to begin with. I'm the teacher, big guy. Just a few steps out, another voice came. Big guy. His transformation was far more significant than Daisy Doll's. Not only has the height and wingspan increased, but the muscles have also not expanded as in memory. Instead, they are compressed tightly, with sharp edges. Using the example of the second hometown, it's like transforming from OWA to Li Xiao. Those scales that were originally only at the hooves have begun to extend upward, and the shape of the head is also approaching dragon-like. Wow, you really have turned into a big guy now. Spiral patted the big guy's shoulder, but he no longer bowed his head like before. Instead, he stood tall, unafraid of eye contact. I hope you won't blame me in the future. What are you talking about? I can't thank you enough. Thank you for giving me strength. I am very clear about my body. It's unlikely that I could ever become like this just through my own talent and training. The big guy said as he flexed his muscles and spread his wide wings, seemingly very satisfied with the changes. Seeing his appearance, Spiral fell silent for a moment before speaking again. Big guy, do you want to see something cooler? Huh. Spiral walked into the alley, gesturing for the big guy to follow. After confirming that there were no horses around, he took off his coat, and his whole body began to change. Wow, that was so cool. So dragons and horses can transform. Shoo. As they walked out of the alley, the big guy was still a bit immersed in the sight of Spiral transforming into a giant dragon, but fortunately, the stallion stopped him in time, preventing the big guy from becoming a big mouth. Although he knew that most of the ponies in Ponyville couldn't keep secrets well. Hee, I know. I'll keep it a secret. Big guy, have you thought about what you want to do in the future? Not yet, but I think I will do the same things as you. After that sentence, the two horses fell silent. They just quietly looked at the increasingly lively Ponyville and those young foals who brought new life and vitality to this town. The older generation will eventually pass away. The future world belongs to the children, and he would take on the responsibility of a scholar, protecting them until they grew up to be horses. Chapter 9, the day of first meeting. Hurry, Grandpa Spiral. Brother Spiral, I need new party props. The pink-maned divine foal burst in, bouncing around, leaving Spiral and Little Dazed, who were in the middle of cleaning up, staring blankly as she flooded them with words like a burst dam. A pony I don't know came to town. She is purple and brought a matching dragon. At first glance, she looks like a nerd. I didn't have time to ask her name. I was stunned because I know the names of all the ponies in town, but don't know hers. Then I went wow. Shoo. Understanding how energetic this child is, Spiral quickly stepped forward and magically covered her mouth. Otherwise, sitting at the counter, the little cocoon, who was already suffering while covering her ears, might do something to Beaky. Oh my gosh, I hate pink ponies, the little cocoon mumbled. She always has a physiological aversion to ponies of this color, especially those that look silly. But she even organized a birthday party for you. But sister, just as she was about to go out to train, Little Dazed touched the little cocoon's mane, soothing the child's fragile nerves. Seeing that she wanted to say more, she took out a lollipop from the counter and stuffed it into the dissatisfied little mouth. Seeing this scene, Spiral also slowly let go of Beaky and dispelled the magic. Shoo. Just as she was about to start talking again, the stallion immediately made a silencing gesture, and the girl cooperatively covered her mouth, squinting her eyes and nodding. Without saying much, Spiral took out the props box he had prepared earlier and handed it to Beaky. Thank you, Grandpa Spiral. A big bag of horse treats was thrown onto the table, and the pink-maned divine foal rushed away like the wind, disappearing in a moment, leaving only a cloud of dust. Spiral smiled helplessly, placed the horse treats in the cash register, and picked up the broom to continue sweeping the floor. The light purple young dragon with a green back held a form in one hand and a pen in the other, carefully reading the words on the paper, diligently completing his assistant work. Beside him, the purple-maned, purple-skinned unicorn seemed somewhat distracted. Or rather, she felt uneasy about the conversation she was about to face. After all, her first conversation after arriving in this town did not end pleasantly. The first item, banquet preparation status. The young dragon led the unicorn through the door. Behind the door was an apple-colored manor, with apple trees stretching as far as the eye could see. Location, Sweet Apple Orchard. Hey, As soon as they stepped onto the grounds, a loud call immediately attracted the attention of the dragon-horse duo. Turning to look, they saw a flash of orange-yellow hooves striking a tree trunk, followed by a loud crash, and all the branches and fruit fell into the enclosure. The cowgirl, Applejack. She closed her eyes with a smile, raised her right hoof in greeting, marking the end of the opening performance. Wow, so awesome. Truly my daughter. The red-maned stallion rushed out from behind the tree, ruffling the cowgirl's mane, causing her to resist repeatedly. Hey, Dad, there are horses here too. I know, the envoy has arrived. Oh look, she even brought a little dragon. The stallion pulled his daughter and instantly ran to the unicorn, grabbing her hoof and shaking it vigorously. Oh hello, I'm Ziyue, and this is my assistant Suelong. Hello. The young dragon finished speaking, and the crowd of ponies fell into silence. After a moment, Bright seemed to realize it was his issue and awkwardly chuckled a few times. Hee, I'm getting old. You two peers can chat. I'm off. With that, the stallion disappeared. The remaining two ponies looked at each other, and in the end, it was still the cowgirl who spoke first. Miss Ziyue, would you like to try some of the banquet food? Of course, as long as it doesn't take too much time. Ding ding ding. Dinner is served, ponies. The triangle bell rang, and the hungry apple family surged in, sweeping the envoy duo to the dining table. Before they could say anything after just recovering from dizziness, the cowgirl started announcing the dishes. All right, let me introduce our apple family. Thanks, but I need to hurry. This is sweet apple pie, apple bread, apple muffins, red mousse, gold mousse, apple caramel, apple rolls, apple pies, baked apples, apple pancakes, apple crisps, barley tarts, wheat tarts, pear jam, apple lily, and Granny Smith. After announcing the dishes, Applejack stuffed a green apple into Ziyue's mouth, waking up the old man who was dozing in the lounge chair and canceling the skill after shaking. What is going on? All right, I'm coming. As Granny Smith slowly walked up to the ponies. Ziyue finally couldn't help but want to spit out the apple in her mouth, but Applejack stepped forward and stuffed a big piece of apple pie in again. Haha, delicious, no need to be polite. I feel like we're already family. The cowgirl laughed, throwing her arm around the unicorn's shoulder. However, at that moment, the unicorn could only look at the mountain of food, and goosebumps broke out all over her body, while cold sweat poured down. Oh my stomach. I've eaten too much pie. After finishing what felt like 3 meals combined, the envoy duo was finally released by the warm apple family. Unlike the pale Ziyue, Suelong looked rosy and content as he rubbed his belly. I see, the banquet preparations are complete. Next is the sky clap. The pin dropped, and the young dragon, shocked by the scene in the sky, stood there with his mouth agape. What's wrong, Suelong? The unicorn stepped forward, but when she saw the same sight, her doubts vanished instantly. Looking up, one could see the rainbow and the bright golden light twisting and drawing closer in the sky, as if the fuse of a firework was nearing its end. The unicorn immediately crouched down and covered its head, but noticed the little dragon with its mouth agape still standing in place, so it quickly pulled him into its embrace, raising a purple barrier to shield against the incoming platinum sound waves. As the sound waves dissipated, all the clouds and the grass within the area were cleared away, including many small ponies and animals that were swept away, not to mention the disastrous impact on the fragile wooden structures of Ponyville, which was immeasurable. Haha, that was so cool. It must have dazzled the flying pony team. Yeah, but I get blown away every time it explodes. I need to practice more. At least, I shouldn't fall so badly. A tall, light gray mare flew out from the grass, shook off the weeds from her wings, and exchanged a glance with the equally flustered Rainbow Dash, and the two instigators of the chaos burst into laughter. However, they quickly stopped laughing, as a large crowd of ponies had gathered around, glaring angrily at the troublesome flying pony duo. Some were awakened, others had just been blown away, and some had their cat nests destroyed. To make matters worse, their leader was the envoy with a mane blown into tufts. Hey, take care. Sorry, everyone. Moments later, the battered flying pony team left with forced smiles, having compensated the crowd, and turned to face the still fuming unicorn. You must be Twilight Sparkle, right? Mr. Spiral told us about you. Hello, I'm Daring Do, and this is Rainbow Dash. We are responsible for cleaning this area. Hi. Rainbow Dash tried to wave, but pulled at her swollen face, wincing in pain. Daring Do, who was luckier and hadn't been hit in the mouth, continued talking to Twilight. Oh, do you still need to inspect the cleanup of the clouds? I think that won't be necessary. The young dragon, with a bandage wrapped around its head, shot a glare at the two ponies and then firmly checked off a box on the form, having been hit on the head by a flower pot when the barrier shattered. Oh, my back. As the sun began to set, the pale yellow pony responsible for the celebration music was driven away, and the day's inspection finally came to an end. Exhausted, the unicorn finally had a chance to rest. leaning against the library door and complaining about her sore body. The young dragon beside her merely glanced over upon hearing her, tightening the bandage on its head. The meaning unspoken. Clunk. Hey, who turned off the lights? As the dragon and ponies shut the door behind them, they found the treehouse shrouded in darkness. Only 2 pairs of eyes still shining brightly. Surprise. When the lights came back on, the ponies cheered in unison. The pink-maned stallion instantly stepped in front of the unicorn, spilling out the words he had meant to say when they first met. Hello, my name is Pinkie Pie. I organized this party just for you. What do you think? Surprised, right? Definitely didn't he expect this. The library should be quiet. Twilight frowned, emphasizing the last 2 words, but Pinkie Pie seemed completely oblivious to this, nuzzling closer. What? Don't be silly. Quiet has nothing to do with a welcome party. I mean, quiet is boring. All right, Pinkie, remember to give new friends some space. Just as Twilight was about to lose her patience, the stallion stepped in beside the 2 Mares, using his hoof to push the overly enthusiastic Pinkie Pie aside. You must be Twilight Sparkle, the most outstanding student of Princess Celestia. Oh, no, I wouldn't say I'm the most outstanding student. Twilight touched her mane and looked away. Seeing her like this, the stallion subtly smirked before continuing. No need to be modest. I don't think any pony loves learning and books more than you do. He half-tipped his hat in salute and also stretched his hoof to stop Pinkie from adding hot sauce to his cake. Ever since she learned about her limits, she had been pulling stunts like this from time to time. You were a librarian too? Of course I love reading. Finding a kindred spirit. Twilight finally smiled a little, but the surrounding noise still made her feel uneasy. And she didn't even notice that she had added a bunch of hot sauce to her cupcake instead of chocolate sauce. Fortunately, as she tasted the spicy dessert, the stallion was still by her side. Just as she realized the heat and covered her mouth with her hooves, a large cup of punch was handed to her. Phew. Thank you. No problem, kid. The stallion raised his punch cup and clinked it with the unicorness. Noticing her anxious expression, he leaned in closer and continued. I think you must be quite confused right now, feeling like we're wasting time, right? Oh no, I just caught off guard. Twilight's face turned red, as if she wanted to say something to change her impression. Haha, it's okay. I know everything in Ponyville is quite new and exciting for ponies from other places. Spiral turned to look at the crowd immersed in the party, seemingly influenced by them, and his stiff expression softened. But that's just our style. No matter when danger comes, no matter how much time is left, we do our utmost to ensure every pony has fun. As he finished speaking, Pinkie, who had just been preparing to use a cannon for a flying pony game, caught the key phrase, flipped over, and bounced into the middle of the 2 ponies, raising her hooves in excitement. Oh, I want to answer. Because we are friends. Pinkie fired the cannon, colorful ribbons swirling around, enhancing the dazzling display. All the ponies turned to look, revealing bright smiles at the newly arrived envoy. That's right, we are friends, and family too. Now, you are included. I also know what you are worried about. Spiral lowered his voice and gently recounted the past myth. On the longest day of the 1000th year, the stars will help her escape, and she will bring eternal night. Don't worry, we are not without countermeasures. In fact, just the opposite. Now, may I ask tonight's guest of honor to grant Ponyville a measure of trust and join in this rare welcome party? Chapter 10, Nightmares arrive as scheduled midnight. The unicorn tossed and turned in her bed, finally getting up and looking out at the moon. Although she knew that the ponies of Ponyville had measures in place for Nightmare Night, she still felt a bit uneasy. The townsfolk looked so joyful and peaceful. Could they really have the ability to fight? And if they weren't as friendly to her, would she just have to watch them get hurt for nothing? No. Twilight once again began reading the book of pony prophecies, trying to find some useful information. Twilight, what's wrong? The ponies are going to see the sunrise. Town Hall. This building, which seemed to have utilized Cybertron compression technology, was now filled with the entire population of Ponyville, quietly waiting for the sun to rise as usual. However, this time, it was not by Princess Celestia. This time, it was by themselves. Why is everyone so? Upon entering Town Hall, Twilight quickly noticed something was off. The ponies were lined up perfectly, pegasi, unicorns, and earth ponies each occupying their spots, and it looked like even their ages were divided among the lines. Their expressions were quite strange, half of their faces serious and solemn, yet all of them wore meaningful smiles. She even felt several gazes wandering over her. Moreover, most of the earth ponies were holding covered farming tools. It was all too strange. But before she could sort out the situation, something even stranger happened. A stallion wearing glasses, looking scholarly, stood on the podium, replacing the mayor to start the speech. And the content of his words was completely different from what she had imagined. Residents of Ponyville, how many years has it been? For these years, we have been living in constant fear of the return of Nightmare Moon, relying on other powerful beings to survive. We have never truly controlled our own fate. We are merely toys in the hands of the upper echelons. They play with us as they please, and when they grow tired of us, they simply toss us into the trash. But now, a new era is about to arrive. In our hands, we have weapons, and in our hearts, we have beliefs. Tell me, who will you fight for? For Ponyville, for the ponies, for the ponies. With that, the light yellow pony commanded the birds to play a stirring battle tune. The kind townsfolk's expressions instantly sharpened as they removed the white cloth, revealing not covered farming tools, but an array of long-handled weapons. At that moment, a strong stallion stood at the front of the ponies, loudly directing. Daring Do, Rainbow Dash, get ready with your new tactics at the front line. Understood, sir. Received. The Pegasus team spread their wings, ready to take off, eager for the upcoming display. Big guy, prepare to grapple. Roar, ready to go? The white stallion's muscles bulged. Fangs bared, claws extended, feathers shedding, mane transforming into a dorsal fin, and scales creeping across his body, quickly morphing into a towering platinum dragon of over 10 meters high. Applejack, protect the children and retreat to the flanks. Understood. Cowgirl Applejack caught the hat thrown by her father, lowered the brim, kicked open the door, escorted all the young ponies away from the scene, then bit through the rope loop, leading the Apple family to surround both sides of the platform. The other townsfolk picked up their weapons, preparing to engage Nightmare Moon, completely driving away this evil mare who sought to control our fate. For the ponies. Upon hearing this, a black-skinned, green-maned unicorn could no longer hide the fire in her heart, jumped high, and shouted what was on her mind. Yay, I want to see rivers of blood. At this disruptive sound, the surrounding ponies immediately looked at the young pony with strange expressions. Oh, I mean for the ponies. For the ponies. For the ponies. As her words fell, the sunset pony tore off her cloak and hat, revealing her horn, and unfolded her membranous wings. The sight boosted the morale of the ponies even further, their cheers growing louder. What is that unicorn? Facing the unicorn's question, the mayor, sitting in the corner, awkwardly poked at his hoof. Noticing Ziu's gaze, he quickly turned his face away. He is the mayor of Ponyville. I'm just a stationery store owner on the corner. When that purple mist spread from the platform, the Pegasus team immediately burst out of the window, starting to outline AM Bias Ring. The unicorns also grouped together, beginning to release a protective shield spell capable of enveloping all the ponies present. While the earth ponies raised their weapons, waiting for the command to charge. Roar! The birds sang, and the battle tune grew ever more fervent. All the animals at the borders also stepped forward, willing to contribute their strength to protect the town where their friends lived. Oh, my dear subjects. With a boom, where the hooves converged, AM Bias sonic explosion was triggered, and the intense white light abruptly interrupted Nightmare Moon's entrance declaration. The blinding light in front was like the sun, even waking up some of her sleeping memories. With a crash, the town hall instantly collapsed, large stones continuously falling. But how could the shield raised by the united crowd be so easily shattered? Even at the center of the explosion, it only fluctuated for a moment, without a single crack. However, Nightmare Moon, who was at the center, was not so fortunate. The shockwave's high temperature melted her armor, directly sending her flying to a height of 100 meters. Just when she thought she would be banished to the moon again, a sudden giant dragon claw grabbed her and slammed her to the ground. Release. The cowgirl aimed for the moment, throwing a lasso to bind Nightmare Moon's right wing. And the Apple family members quickly followed suit, tightly tying Nightmare Moon in place. Amplifier ready. A 2-pony-high mirrored reflection device was lowered, and all the unicorns removed the protective shield, pouring their magic into the device, gathering a high concentration of colorful light and shooting it at the still dizzy Nightmare Moon. Enough of you, you bunch of rascals. Purple magic spilled out, flipping the device and unicorns to the ground, while all the earth ponies charging forward were swept away by a tail. Do you really think this little trick can hurt me? Boom. Before her words were fully spoken, a new beam of magic shot straight at her, forcing Nightmare Moon to focus all her energy to respond. But even so, the two beams of magic were at a stalemate. How is this possible? In this countryside, who has such immense magic? Who? I'll hold her off, Ziua. Hurry and find the elements of harmony. It's him. Ziua Spiral. The strong stallion spoke eloquently. Although it sounded critical, time passed, and not even a brick was broken beneath his hooves. Understood, Mr. Spiral. Ladies, follow me. When the vision of the six completely disappeared, Spiral no longer concealed himself, immediately reducing his magic output, and was swept away by the purple magic. Oh no, he fell to the ground. The other ponies saw the stallion's blink signal, and all dropped their weapons, pretending to be dead. Seeing this scene, Nightmare Moon was slightly taken aback. But upon glancing at the direction the young Mares were advancing, she gritted her teeth and transformed into smoke to leave. Ouch, that hurts. Ah, I'm dead. However, the pony's acting skills, compared to Spiral, were truly not commendable. Not only did they lie down in an orderly manner, but their screams also had a certain rhythm. Just listening to it made him sweat profusely. Should be, it's fine, right? With the Royal Guard's intelligence, they probably won't notice. Hey, what happened? Looks like the guard's sleep spell has been lifted. However, Celestia's guards are really not that great. They've come to an unfamiliar place and showed no vigilance. Easily caught by a few young Mares. Of course, not all the ponies pretended to be dead in time. Pooh. Those two giant claws ended up scooping up some dirt and piling it on their own heads. On the other side, upon reaching the cliff, the cowgirl extended her hoof to stop the crowd. The terrain has changed. Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy. She threw out a lasso, and the Pegasus team instantly understood her intention. Moving forward to pull. Everyone grabbed the rope. What? Trust me, Ziyue grabbed the rope. As her words fell, apart from the still stunned Ziyue, the other ponies immediately grabbed the rope, and the ground began to collapse. Seeing her about to slide down the cliff alone, a light blue magic instantly supported her, slowly bringing her down with the others. Dear, take it easy. Sighed, stepping forward to use her handkerchief to brush off the dirt clumps from Ziyue. Nightmare Moon? Who? Applejack blew away the leaves, clearing the dust from her hat, with a smile at the corners of her lips. Rainbow Dash immediately took over, flying into the air with her arms crossed. Just a little trick. Playing with the kids is fine, but you can't stop us. Still, be careful, girls. Nightmare Moon is rougher than I thought. As she finished speaking, looked at the considerable distance still remaining with a worried frown. But the elements of harmony have yet to be secured. This eternal journey for freedom must continue. Just now, Applejack tossed the rope. Fluttershy and I grabbed the rope and saved everyone. Yes, Rainbow Dash, we all saw it. Thank you very much, but we... Boom. A noise came from ahead, startling the unicorns, while the cowgirl had already shielded them behind her. Scorpion-tailed lion, everyone get ready. Watching the ponies prepare for battle, the light yellow pony hesitated to speak. And when Applejack charged at the scorpion-tailed lion, she finally couldn't hold back any longer and raised her voice. Wait. The ponies were momentarily stunned again, all looking at the light yellow pony who loudly stopped Applejack. She seemed to realize her voice was too loud, embarrassedly lowering her head, but showed no intention of retreating. The scorpion-tailed lion did not roar. It merely glanced at the group of ponies before limping over to Ro and showing her the palm of its hand, which had been injured by a thorn. Oh, poor thing, the little pony said as she bit the thorn's tip and pulled it out, then quickly took out a bandage she always carried. The giant beast had not even had time to cry out in pain before it opened its eyes again to see its hand wrapped tightly. Phew, the ponies finally relaxed, no longer paying attention to the affection between the scorpion-tailed lion and the light yellow pony, and walked straight ahead. Only Ziyue, still recovering from her surprise, walked dazedly to Ro's side. How did you know? Well, sometimes, giving the other party a chance to communicate can solve a lot of problems. Also, I've met this scorpion-tailed lion before. His name is Melvin, and he's not a bad kid. Ziyue's jaw dropped even wider. However, there wasn't much time left to find the element of harmony. She quickly shook her head and hurried to catch up with the group of ponies. Girls, wait up. As expected, the deeper they went, the more problems arose. Xinqi's magic, which was used for sensing, dissipated from her horn, blocking the eager Beaky from continuing to jump forward. The aura of magic grew heavier, and the woods ahead seemed. Don't worry, just leave it to me. I haven't tried my solo move yet. Bang! With a loud crash, the entire Fear forest shattered into pieces, and the Rainbow Girl screamed as she fell from the sky into the ground. Oh no, my hoof is broken. Yunbao shook off the dirt from her body, but realized her right hoof now could only flop limply, and she cried out in pain. Belatedly realizing it, the harsh sound was too much for Xinqi, who covered her ears and came to the girl's side, using magic to set her hoof's bones straight. All right, sweetheart, be brave. She heard William's screams all around. It tastes like chocolate. Beaky picked up a piece of broken wood, stuck it into a cupcake, and stuffed it into her mouth. Delicious. Cupcake time. The pink-maned colt pulled out 5 cupcakes from an unknown place and stuffed them into each pony's mouth in order. Just as she was about to start singing, Applejack timely covered her mouth, interrupting her. No need to be afraid. We have trouble again. The ponies reached the edge and looked out, seeing a turbulent stream ahead, the waves rising and falling endlessly. How do we get across? The water flow here is very fast. If we let the Pegasus team carry all the other ponies together, the little ponies at the bottom might get swept away by the waves, and taking them one by one would take too much time. Oh no, oh no. Splash. After a cry from afar, a huge splash of water fell on the 6 ponies' heads. Well, that settles it. Flying is off the table. What a world, what a world. As they passed through the grass, a massive purple sea monster came into view. To be precise, only half of it was visible, as the creature was so long that the ponies could only see half when they looked up. I'm sorry, sir, why are you crying here? Ziyue was the first to ask, as she wanted to find the element of harmony as quickly as possible. How would I know? I was just sitting here, minding my own business, when suddenly a pile of black-purple mist appeared and took my most precious whiskers. The sea monster pointed to the little bit of whiskers left on either side of its face, loudly accusing the heavens of injustice, its cries making the ponies feel sad. Okay, we actually don't care about that little issue. It's just whiskers. They will grow back, right? Among them, the rainbow girl was the most impatient. She pointed at the effeminate sea monster, almost ready to curse at the pony. How can you all lack empathy? Those whiskers are very important to the sea monster race. Okay. In the end, it was Jinchi who stepped forward, looking sympathetically at the pitiful sea monster. As one pony spoke up, the sea monster cried even more tragically, making one wonder if it was not whiskers that had been cut, but something else. Poor thing, look at him. His scales are so shiny. Yeah, his hairstyle is so professionally managed. Yes. The sea monster felt touched by their words, straightening up and rubbing its golden hair. Without my whiskers, everything is ruined. This is it for my life. Jinchi's eyes sharpened, and a large amount of magic gathered at the edge of her horn. She aimed at the sea monster's face and spoke the final words. This is no ordinary aesthetic blasphemy. A heavy punch must be delivered. The magic was launched, hitting the sea monster squarely in the face, causing it to let out a scream akin to William's, but quickly transformed into a joyful laugh. Because the whiskers that had been trimmed to the root were now slowly growing back. Hee. Seeing the magic succeed, Jinchi felt genuinely happy for it. But the exhaustion from magic depletion made her unsteady on her 4 hooves, and she half knelt on the ground. Are you all right, miss? The sea monster, regaining its senses, looked worriedly at its whisker-saving benefactor, its huge claws rubbing together, unsure of what to do. Yet, despite being overwhelmed by sleepiness, Jinchi still comforted it. It's okay. It's just that this magic consumes a lot, and I haven't practiced it properly yet. Applejack timely stepped forward, supporting the wobbling lady and brushing off the dust from her hooves. Mr. Spiral already told you about the side effects. Sigh, you really are a soft-hearted person. Who said that? Jinchi wanted to say more, but her eyelids had already completely closed, instantly sending her into a dream. Looks like she needs to sleep for a while. Applejack picked up Jinchi's hooves and carried her on her back, then turned to face the sea monster, who was anxiously fiddling with its fingers. Mr. Stephen, can you help us cross the river? Consider it a reward for Jinchi helping you grow your whiskers. Of course, dear little ponies. But this little thing can't be considered a reward. In return for your kindness, I am willing to offer the friendship of the sea monster clan. The sea monster Stephen expressed, slowly performing a gentlemanly bow, then stretched its body across the turbulent waters, becoming a bridge. When the ponies successfully stepped onto the opposite shore, the unicorn could no longer contain her curiosity and asked the cowgirl, Applejack, what kind of magic did Jinchi just use? I've never seen a spell that can make hair grow so quickly in any book. Oh, this, Applejack was about to say something when she suddenly covered her mouth and shook her head vigorously. No, this matter must be kept a secret. Look, we're almost there. The cowgirl changed the subject, pointing straight at the distant castle ruins. Ziyue, looking in that direction, finally showed a joyful expression and immediately dashed forward. Whoa. Then she almost fell off the cliff. Slow down, girl. This time, it was Applejack's turn to say that to her. We've only been here for less than half an hour, and look at how much trouble we've already encountered. Yunbao complained, then pulled a long face, picked up a broken rope, flew to the other side, and prepared to retie the bridge. But just as she finished tying it, a faint calling came from within the mist. Yunbao, who's there? The rainbow girl immediately became alert upon hearing the noise, ready to use the Mobius sonic boom again. She didn't know if she remembered that her hooves had just reattached not long ago. However, when she saw a few Pegasus ponies walking out of the mist, her expression of vigilance instantly turned into disdain and contempt. Shinjin, do you think I'm a fool? Where would a Pegasus team come from in this broken place? Their clothes are from over a decade ago. How uncool. Good job, Yunbao. It's Nightmare Moon who is too foolish. She should learn more about the current Pegasus teams. Thus, the ponies crossed the cliff bridge one by one and headed toward the final old castle. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the girls were all trying hard to stifle their laughter. After a few times, perhaps Nightmare Moon's face had turned red as well. Hurry up, Ziyue. The element of harmony is right here. Approaching the ruins, the The cowgirl pointed to a stone sculpture holding 5 spherical orbs, beckoning the unicorn to come forward and take a look. After carefully looking at those spheres, Ziyue finally revealed a smile. Yes, it's them, we found it. The unicorn directed the Pegasus group to bring down the 5 elements of harmony, eagerly gathering magic and saying to the other ponies, the book says that after gathering 5 elements of harmony, a spark will cause the 6th element to appear. Then let's try it quickly, Ziyue. Applejack put down the awakened Jinchi, adjusted her hat, and, along with the other girls, slowly retreated to the side of the door. When she keenly noticed the purple mist drifting in, her hooves were also restless. All right, I'll give it a try. The unicorn's magic began to glow. But the purple mist was already impatient, transforming into a whirlwind that swept up the 5 elements of harmony, enveloping the unicorn as well. Fortunately, the ponies had anticipated this, and at the cowgirl's command, they pounced towards the nightmare. Now is the time, let's go. Bang. After the dizziness of the teleportation, the unicorn slowly raised her head. In front of her was the root of sin that aimed to bring eternal night, the nightmare moon. Her mane, floating in the air due to the overflow of magic, blended seamlessly with the night sky, and her massive body made the unicorn feel both astonished and a bit fearful. Don't worry, Ziyue, we are with you. But when the cowgirl's hoof rested on her shoulder and the figures of the ponies filled her peripheral vision, she quickly understood that there was no need for concern. They were stamping their hooves and glaring angrily at the magical steed on the platform, and this momentum piqued the nightmare's interest. Oh, you dare? It is you who dares. Nightmare Moon, the cowgirl exclaimed, and the 5 stone spheres were magically teleported to the pony's side by Jinchi. She picked up one of the elements of honesty and slowly walked up to the magical steed, questioning it word by word, provoking its facade of toughness and fragile nerves. Self-proclaimed eternal night? Ridiculous. Who gave you the right to surpass the day? Celestia? How dare you, little pony? Princess Luna, wake up. The light of the moon can never overshadow the sun. Hiss. The response to the provocation was a sudden burst of concentrated magic that enveloped the ponies in a cloud of dust. Ziyue, Mr. Spiral brought us along for this moment. When the smoke cleared, Applejack remained unscathed. However, the element of honesty she had used to shield herself from the rays was now covered in cracks and starting to collapse. But those fragments did not scatter. Instead, they gradually gathered around her, emitting a dazzling orange light, eventually transforming into a necklace embedded with apple orange stones. So, do you realize what your element of harmony is? The unicorn looked around, making eye contact with each of the ponies beside her, and the last bit of confusion in her eyes turned into determination. Friendship is magic. As the statement fell, amidst the colorful light, the final crown gradually emerged. Come on, Nightmare Moon. Let's see you try to fight against the 6 weak little ponies in front of you. Try to fight against the entire Ponyville. Chapter 12. Dawn of a New Day. Dawn arrived. All the ponies quietly tidied up the debris, treated the injured, and then continued with their own tasks. They knew that the sky would not fall. The stallion stood in the town center, calling out to those around him. The words of the gentleman spread among the ponies. And in no time, the quiet town once again erupted in joyful cheers. When the music played, banners were raised, and the golden chariot descended from the clouds. The Princess of the Moon returned, and the element of magic took its place. The Cosmic Princess waved her hoof, greeting the surrounding ponies, while Luna, just freed from the nightmare, appeared somewhat reserved, not daring to look up at the townsfolk with whom she had just been at odds. Long time no see, Cosmic Princess. Moon Princess. Oh, this gentleman, have we met? Hearing the words of the Cosmic Princess, the stallion's expression seemed to freeze for a moment. But soon he reacted and put on his usual smile. No, we have never met. If Ponyville had such an outstanding leader, I think I would definitely have not missed his birth. Celestia looked around, watching the crowd gathering around the stallion, some surprised, some delighted, but mostly curious. He had no crown, no loud voice. He looked just like an ordinary pony. What did he do? What did he do for this place? Strictly speaking, I am just a stationary store owner. The mayor of Ponyville is still Ms. Mayor. Mr. Spiral adjusted his hat and pulled the mayor, who was dejectedly eating a muffin from the corner. Upon seeing the 2 princesses, her action of stuffing food into her mouth finally stopped, and she no longer shouted for the stallion to ignore her. Cosmic Princess, Moon Princess. No need for such formalities, Mayor. I am very sorry. Seeing the beige mare's embarrassment, Celestia couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle. To avoid being discovered, she pointed to 2 little fillies flying over with flower garlands and changed the subject. Luna, look, there are little pegasi bringing you flower crowns. Looking up, she then noticed the unusual atmosphere in Ponyville. The townsfolk did not bow, nor did they show any reverence for royalty. This is good. It seems the little ponies don't think so. Observing the entire scene, Celestia smiled slightly at the stallion and said, "They are who they want to be. No one can force their hearts. It was so 1,000 years ago. And it will be so in the future." "That's right, it will be so in the future." The stallion agreed, looking at the thriving Ponyville. Then, he extended a hoof, inviting the two old friends to visit the changes in the town over the past 7 years. "Finally, I don't have to keep this a secret." She immediately turned around and stopped the purple unicorn, the restrained words now flowing like a river. "Ziyue, there are some things I need to tell you. Mr. Spiral has long told us that the Cosmic Princess herself is the previous user of the element of magic and could not have been unaware of Nightmare Moon's return. Sending her own prized student here must be to cultivate her abilities. He brought us along with you because we are the most prominent in the 5 elements in Ponyville, and we all receive the adorable mark because of the rainbow, making us the most likely ponies to help you succeed the element of magic. That is right. Otherwise, the pegasi accompanying you should be Days and me. The two of us could directly blast Nightmare Moon away." In response, Yunyun jumped back into the conversation, imagining the perfect execution of the Mobius sonic rainbow, waving her hooves at the air. But soon, she realized her words might hurt a certain fragile pony and quickly flew to her side to make amends. "Hee, don't mind it. Rarity, just a figure of speech." "No, it's okay. I'm really not good at flying." Rarity lowered her head, her right hoof starting to draw circles on the ground. The guilty Yunyun could no longer continue the conversation, surrounding the pale yellow pony and exhausting every word to comfort her. Meanwhile, Applejack affectionately glanced at the two kids and continued speaking to Ziyue. At the same time, Mr. Spiral also wanted to take this opportunity to hone the townsfolk's crisis responsibilities. In the future, when facing danger, they can also protect themselves. This drill wasn't told to you in advance, so I hope you're not scared. The townsfolk are usually very friendly. Slowly taking off her hat and opening her eyes, Applejack then noticed that the unicorn's mouth had not closed since just now, as if frozen in the frame of surprise. Finally processing a large amount of information, Ziyue looked at the other 6 members present. 2 unicorns, 2 pegasi, 2 earth ponies, 6 elements of harmony. But fate has always been like this. If not her, then perhaps another pony. "Ziyue, aren't you curious about Jinshi's growth magic?" That magic is what Mr. Spiral taught her, to help the little unicorn regain her composure. The cowgirl cleverly brought up something she had previously shown interest in. Fortunately, the effect was remarkable, and the previously distressed Ziyue's expression quickly softened. "Indeed, dear Mr. Spiral is a generous and gentlemanly little stallion. If you humbly seek his guidance, he will surely share his knowledge generously." Jinshi also walked over to Ziyue and talked about the stallion, who always wore a smile. The accumulation of time had endowed him with a wealth of knowledge and refinement, making interactions with him very comfortable for a designer pursuing elegance. He had quite insightful views on fashion, as if he came from another world. But at the same time, the melancholy of impending departure spread to her heart at the same speed. Beaky, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Jinshi, Ruru. She had already memorized their names and vividly recalled their experiences. They had just gotten to know each other, just fought side by side. Now, they were about to part ways. Just as she began to confront her friendship, her first experience of gaining it felt so fleeting. "Ziyue." Before she could think of what to say for farewell, the stallion's voice had already reached her ears. Looking over, it was the Sunset Spiral, along with 2 princesses. "My most outstanding student." The Cosmic Princess slowly walked over to her gloomy student, seemingly sensing her thoughts, and spoke soothingly. "We just discussed your future." After finishing her sentence, the stallion then pointed to Ziyue's chest. "Of course, everything depends on your choice." Hearing this, the unicorn glanced at the others behind her. "I want to continue writing it until it becomes a book." The stallion picked up on her hidden meaning and stepped forward in time, patting the unicorn's shoulder. "Perhaps time is short, but that's okay. We only strive for the best." Chapter 13, Self-Imposed Limitations. Ponyville School. Classroom. Looking at the students playing inside the door, the Crimson Mare took a deep breath, encouraging herself for yet another day of teaching. "All right, class, it's time for lessons." The Crimson Mare walked up to the podium, halting the young pony's noise. She opened a new book, holding chalk in her mouth, and wrote on the blackboard, "Today, we will learn how to interact with others." The young ponies stared blankly at each other, and contrary to what Kani imagined, there was no feedback at all. Having rarely experienced such silence, she was momentarily taken aback. Let's use an example." The mare seemed a bit embarrassed and quickly flipped through a few pages of the book. "You're walking down the street, and there are 2 ponies chatting, blocking your way. How should you communicate with them to let them move aside?" The teacher didn't hear clearly. After a long silence, neither the young ponies nor Kani spoke. "All right, let's move on to the next question." Kani forced a smile again and flipped to a new page in the textbook. She lowered her head, carefully examining the text, trying to find questions that wouldn't easily capture the interest of the little unicorns. If someone accidentally knocks over your things. Caney bit her lip. If one were to get closer, they would see that her expression was already filled with confusion. If. She lowered her head even more, forgetting that she initially just wanted to find suitable questions, flipping through the pages one after another and secretly praying that the other children wouldn't notice her embarrassment. But the little unicorn wasn't going to let her off that easily. Strong ones must harshly humiliate the weak. What? Kill, 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 kill. As the little bug cocoon spoke with enthusiasm, her hooves kept pounding the table, sending white paper flying everywhere. The young ponies just watched her, and none dared to say anything further. Some of the bullied ponies had already hidden under the table, shivering. For some reason, a furious and powerful shadow also vaguely appeared beside her. What? Do you have questions too? Weekend. CAF. Tap, tap, tap. The Crimson Mare looked at the time on the clock shop in the distance, anxiously tapping her hooves on the floor, stuffing piece after piece of cake into her mouth. Her face smeared with cream, making the nearby patrons stare in astonishment. When she finally saw the waiting stallion appear on the street, she let go of the CAF chef and rushed toward that figure. Mr. Spiral. The mayor ran over and crashed into the stallion's chest. Before he could recover, he heard a series of sobs. Teaching is really hard, so tiring. The students bully me, wah? Years flew by, and the girl from back then had no pony to rely on anymore. All right, Caney, you've grown up. Don't let others see you crying. Didn't we agree? Be strong, okay? Okay. Tell me what happened. The question came. It had been planned all along, but now that she truly faced him, the words suddenly became difficult to utter. She tapped her hooves, looking at the empty plate on the table, her voice as soft as a whisper. It's. Caney's eyes glanced to the side. It's the little bug cocoon. The stallion's heart sank. It's not good that his girl bullied another girl who has grown up. Did she bully her classmates? Spiral asked immediately after hearing the answer, seeming to have anticipated this. He actually knew that the nature of the shapeshifter wasn't too easy to resolve, especially with the bug cocoon. But education must be addressed even if it's difficult. Actually, not just. Caney finally couldn't hold back and revealed the accumulated incidents over the days. Now the answer was clear. Simple indulgence clearly couldn't truly bring her out of the shadows of the past. Let us try again. Bug cocoon. Ignoring him, the little shapeshifter immediately turned aside, continuing to batter the toy in her hooves. She knew when the stallion would call her this way. Ms. Caney told me that you not only cause trouble in class, but also often bully your classmates. The little bug cocoon pretended not to hear the continuous accusations, gleefully torturing her toy. She even occasionally let out giggles to cover her impatience. But careful observation would reveal that her hooves had started to tremble slightly. You shouldn't do that. Until those words reached her ears, the girl's eyes widened in shock, as if touched by a bottom line. She no longer listened to the stallion's words, jumped up from the ground, and yelled at him. So what if I bully them? I'm stronger than them. Why should I be equal to them? This world is survival of the fittest. If I want to bully them, I will. Who dares to have an opinion about me? Watching the girl attack him, the stallion silently sighed deeply. Those eyes that were usually concealed rarely revealed a hint of harshness. Smack! Dark blue magic captured the little shapeshifter and pinned her firmly to the ground. Now, I can do whatever I want to you, just because I'm stronger than you. Is this what you want, survival of the fittest? Does it feel good? Why? Why doesn't he even agree with me? Why does he have to hit me for those lame ponies? The little bug cocoon felt all her grievances and unwillingness surge within her, turning into tears that swirled in her eyes. But in the end, she held them back tightly, refusing to let them fall. She had always been this way, a stubborn and tenacious girl. It was the same in the past and now. Alas, in the end, the stallion slowly released his magic, sat down beside her, and sighed again. But this time, it wasn't silent. It was filled with deep sorrow. However, this action completely shattered the little cocoon's defenses. For in the moment he turned away, she saw disappointment in his eyes directed at her. More so, disappointment in herself. Compared to this, she even felt it would be more comfortable if he just kept hitting her. She hated that gaze. Hated it because it made her feel like she had really done something wrong. Caney could have chosen not to go there to teach. She was a volunteer. The stallion sat down with his back to the caterpillar, quietly recalling the past that she had never paid attention to and took for granted. Do you remember? Last year's birthday was organized by her and Beaky for you. In the whole class, only she remembered your birthday. Because you made all the other little ponies afraid of you. So, no little ponies liked you. After saying this, Spiral listened quietly to the sound of little Mirage spirit sniffing, which gradually turned into a faint sob. Then, from the magical space, She took out the fruit candies she had been preparing for a long time, which were her favorite snacks. Oomph. The little caterpillar was quick and snatched the candies prepared for her, stuffing them all into her mouth as if to take revenge on the stallion by way of ruining her teeth. He looked at her tear-streaked, bulging face and chuckled silently. My child. Spiral gently stroked her mane and uttered the final words. No one will be strong forever, but there will always be someone strong. You may not understand this right away, but I just want you to try. When you have tried all options, choose the one that is better for you. Spiral held little caterpillar in her arms, sharing her heart as she had on the day she was born. I will always love you and always support you. Even if all the little ponies in the world do not support you, I will walk with you on the path you choose, no matter where it leads. The caterpillar and the stallion walked along the long street, quietly watching the passage of time. The breeze stirred the fallen leaves, blowing away the clouds in the heart. Everything was clear, unspoken. Back at the stationery store, Spiral gently laid the sleeping little Mirage spirit on the bed and went downstairs. She took out a broom from the corner and started cleaning the store with the clerk, dazed. Approaching noon, many children always flooded in at this time, and he had to prepare a clean store for them before that. Hurry up, Spiral Grandpa. Spiral Brother. I need new party props. Until the pink-maned stallion burst into the store shouting, the day's cleaning had to be temporarily halted. Chapter 14. The falling apple blossom thunder rumbled, and the ground trembled in front of Ponyville. The rainbow-maned Pegasus flew into the air, looking at the dust rising in the distance, and for a moment, her expression turned to fear as she loudly warned the townsfolk below. A stampede. As the dust settled, the scene gradually became clear. A herd of frightened cows was charging toward the town for some unknown reason. At this moment, the ponies had just woken from their dreams, caught off guard. If they continued to stampede into the town, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thankfully, Ponyville never lacked capable ponies. A cowgirl chased after the herd, seizing the opportunity to throw a lasso that landed perfectly around the neck of the lead cow. She focused her eyes and pulled hard on the lasso, while her companion, Winona, shouted to help redirect the lead cow. Woof woof. The horse and dog worked seamlessly together and finally managed to turn the herd away just as they were about to crash into the Ponyville Bridge. Splash. With a powerful thrust of their hooves, they brought the herd to a sudden stop. Applejack panted a few times, slowly stabilizing her cowboy hat. Her hooves trembled slightly, as if she had reached her physical limit. Applejack, you're amazing. Listening to the cheers from the other side, the cowgirl managed to squeeze out a smile, but the beads of sweat on her forehead continued to form. Thank you, Winona. You've been a great help these days. Don't be so polite, Spiral. Time spent with you always teaches me new things. The zebra put down the reagent she was holding, teasingly turning to the stallion beside her. Over the years, she had grown a little taller, but to meet his gaze, she still had to look up. But are you sure you want to deal with the constellation bears? They aren't very friendly to little ponies. The stallion donned his heavy coat, hiding the dark veins on his body, and put a few empty vials into his pocket. It has to be done. Only a few samples from the Eternal Freedom Forest remain uncollected. Thank you. He ascended the steps and stepped out of the store. Ponyville seemed lively again at this moment. Colorful confetti was scattered everywhere on the ground, and cheers from the little ponies could be heard from time to time. Seeing the banner painted with apples, Spiral understood roughly where the excitement was coming from. It was time for the annual Ponyville Outstanding Pony Awards. Has Applejack arrived? Asked the bookworm, Purple Bliss, as she hung the largest banner at the town hall. I haven't seen her all week, but she will definitely come. Applejack is never late. Cloudsdale's expression was very confident, or more precisely, full of confidence in that orange mare. After all, that golden trophy was to be awarded to the most trustworthy and reliable pony in Ponyville. Kids. Just as the girls were preparing to go on stage to speak, the stallion arrived at the town hall. Hi, Mr. Spiral. Hello, Purple Bliss. What are you all doing? Oh, we're about to award Applejack with the Ponyville Outstanding Pony Award. But it's about to start, and still no sign of her. Purple Bliss turned to Spiral to explain while adjusting the thick stack of speeches in her hands. Seeing the stallion, the nearby Rare also leaned over to join the conversation. By the way, I haven't seen you around these days, Mr. Spiral. I wanted to show you my new work, but I missed you a few times. Yeah, dazed and I haven't been able to train our new moves these days. Cloudsdale interjected. Recently, Winona and I have been doing academic research on potion making. I really troubled that kid to watch the store. Mr. Spiral, you know about potion making? The unicorn stepped forward, her eyes sparkling. As one of the few scholars in Ponyville, Purple Bliss was quite interested in Spiral's words. While most ponies might equate potions with witchcraft and mysterious arts, she knew that only unrecognized truths existed in the world. I only know a little. I'm still a novice in this area, And I owe a lot to the guidance of that senior, Winona. Winona? The unfamiliar name puzzled the unicorn. If she were a resident of Ponyville, she should have some impression. Oh, I know. She's the witch from the Eternal Freedom Forest who eats little ponies. Haha. Although Winona does like to pretend to be a witch, she doesn't eat little ponies. Spiral pushed away Beaky, who was pretending to bite him like a zombie, unaffected by her silly expression, and continued his words. On the contrary, she is a kind zebra who is willing to help others. While she may look different from us, the desire for friendship is the same. I actually hope you can get to know each other. I digress. You all go prepare. I'll go check where Applejack is. She has been gone for so long. Something might have happened. With that, Spiral turned to the long unseen fashion designer, inviting her to appreciate. Oh, rare. I'll have time tomorrow. Let us discuss your new work in detail then. Okay, I'll trouble you then, Mr. Spiral. The stallion nodded and smiled. Then he turned and left. Huh. On the country road, the way back was unknown. Apples filled the basket, but she didn't realize she was already hurt. Huh. Another yawn darkened the cowgirl's eyes. The dark circles under her eyes resembled tree rings, and in her vision, everything appeared in pairs. Little Apple. The voice drifted into her ears, colliding against her chest. Well, it was the stallion who crossed the town, coming to check on her. Oh, Mr. Spiral. Huh. When did you learn to clone yourself? The cowgirl swayed, her two eyes resembling dazed before he was cured, one on lookout while the other stood guard. Fortunately, after shaking her head, her vision returned to normal. I can't clone myself right now. It seems your exhaustion is worse than I thought. To the point you can see double. The stallion patted the girl's head, lifting the heavy burden off her. Spiral had no doubt that if her skin were black, an ancient melody would resonate at this moment. Mr. Spiral, do you still have that coffee you gave me last time? Applejack asked, but before she could finish, a yawn helped her close her eyelids. Without any defense, she stood there and fell asleep. The colt sighed helplessly and tapped the girl's forehead with his hoof. I do have a potion that can suppress fatigue, but that's just robbing Peter to pay Paul. Spiral adjusted Applejack's leaning body and looked at her determined expression before speaking again. What you really need right now is a good rest. He wondered if Bright, who had safely returned, had taken care of his daughter, as he allowed her to manage the orchard alone. What? Rest? I just started to snore. Applejack suddenly woke up upon hearing those two words. To stay awake, she shook her head vigorously a few times, but it didn't help much. Her eyelids quickly closed again. In the end, Spiral took out a can of mint incense and waved it near her nose, which helped a little. Oh, Mr. Spiral, I'm fine. Tell me, little Apple, you're not very good at lying. Spiral adjusted his windblown fedora. I might be a bit boastful, but I consider myself the best tree hole in Ponyville. Hearing the colt's words, the girl lowered her head. Her tired eyes slowly closed. Mr. Spiral, I'm so tired. But there are still so many apples left to pick, and so many little ponies that need help. I don't want to disappoint my parents. I don't want to let everyone down. I don't want any pony to go without help, but I'm really so tired. The girl's voice grew quieter, and by the end, her words transformed into faint snoring. The colt took off his hat and piled up some fallen leaves beside her. Didn't Big Mac come to help today? He got hurt playing high dive with old Mac. Spiral finally let out a laugh, relieved. Just like father and son. Always finding ways to lower the average age of the colts in Ponyville. After all these years, this family still didn't reassure any pony. Mom still has to take care of those too. Apple Bloom needs to go to school, and Grandma probably can't shake the trees anymore. So I have to take on the responsibility. Speaking of this, Applejack lowered her eyes, her voice growing even fainter. In her daze, she murmured to herself, forcing her limbs to stand firm, but after closing her eyes for a moment, her hooves were already shaking like leaves in the wind. Not to mention continuing to walk. Standing was quite a challenge. Seeing her like this, the colt spoke directly to her heart. Have you considered what would happen if you weren't around? If your parents lost their daughter, if your sister lost her sister, if your grandmother could no longer see her granddaughter's face, then what would be the meaning of responsibility? Upon hearing this, her body, which had just barely propped itself up, immediately collapsed again. Fortunately, beneath her was the soft pile of fallen leaves she had just made. Without any ponies tasting the apples, what was the difference between them and the stones by the roadside? The girl looked towards the ponies sitting with pursed lips, seemingly in a dilemma. After a moment, she finally let go of her stubbornness and asked her last question. Then how have you managed to take care of Ponyville all along? I haven't managed to do it, little Apple, I couldn't do it. The colt's expression was suddenly reminiscent of the girl's from just moments ago, touched by her words. But just as he had said, time would erase everything. It just required different amounts. Sometimes excessive help could harm others and oneself. But unfortunately, we often only understand the truth after being hurt. Sleep well, when you wake up. All the apples will be picked. The colt stepped forward, picked the girl up on his back, and slowly walked towards the apple orchard. Don't forget, you have a group of reliable friends. The sun shone through the leaves, warming the spring. Enveloped in a dream, the girl finally fell into a deep sleep. All right, kids. The last bit of apples is here. As the evening faded, just before it was gone, Mr. Spiral, girls, come have some apple juice. And some apple pie? Bandaged Bright and his wife, Pear Jam, entered, carrying 2 trays of apple juice. Big Mac and Grandma followed with apple pie. The aroma quickly attracted the tired little ponies, who followed their appetites to the dining table. Oh, apple juice. Pinkie Pie was the first to arrive at the dining spot, and Rainbow Dash and others soon followed. After placing the last apples in the center basket, Spiral slowly walked towards the group, quietly casting a harmless little spell to bury a new formation. Laughter floated into her ears as Applejack gradually woke up from the bed. When her consciousness regained control of her body, she immediately looked out the window. When she saw the apple orchard with only branches and leaves left, she sighed and relaxed. Creak. She walked downstairs, opened the door, and the sunlight made her instinctively raise a hoof to shield her eyes. Hey, our little Ponyville's best pony is here. Rainbow Dash flew into the air, sipping apple juice while waving at Applejack, who was walking out the door. The cowgirl looked at her muddy friends, momentarily speechless. Thank you all. What are you saying, Applejack? Are you still sleepy? We are friends, the pink-maned colt said, pulling out a shiny golden trophy from her mane and stuffing it into Applejack's arms. The heavy weight immediately knocked her back down to the ground. But lying there, she no longer showed any trace of gloom. Instead, laughter from a long-awaited reunion took its place. Ha ha! Laughter spread among the ponies, and the long fatigue gradually healed. They just waited to sit under the tree and listen to the whispers of the apple blossoms. Chapter 15. Dew falls and clouds fly at the edge of Ponyville. The high slides were built on both sides of the river. A young colt with orange skin and purple mane adjusted her helmet, her eyes sharp and smiling. She placed her hooves on the railing, looked up at the highest point of the slide, and pushed off with her hind hooves. The skateboard sped forward. Up the slide. She flapped her wings desperately, shooting towards the clouds, then fell to the ground at the same speed. The wings were merely decorations, adding weight but no power. Splash! With a loud sound, she fell into the river. Ha ha ha! But when she stopped cheering, the laughter didn't cease. Looking up, she saw a group of young ponies gathered by the river, laughing at the drenched flying pony. Her ears turned red, and in the end, she just lowered her head, picked up her skateboard, and escaped. Because she knew all too well whether they were laughing at her. She was indeed a flying pony who could never fly. No matter how much effort she put in or how much time she spent, she would always be a deformed flying pony. Sighing, she pushed her skateboard and found she had unknowingly walked to the edge of the forest where she usually came. Winking Lulu sat down under the shade of a tree, took off her helmet, and stared blankly at the unreachable sky, sighing continuously. Splash! Hee hee! Winking Lulu finally smiled. Again and again. Thud! What's wrong, my child? This time, she stopped at the finish line. The colt caught the skateboard, preventing it from sliding down further. He looked at the gloomy young pony across from him and gently asked, "Isn't the new skateboard fun?" This skateboard was one he brought from his second hometown. The quality under industrialization was worlds apart from Ponyville's crude products. He remembered the radiant smile on the young pony's face when she bought the skateboard in the store. But now, her expression only made his heart ache. "No, sir." Winking Lulu pouted and told Spiral about her recent experience while he quietly sat beside her, listening intently. When the event was fully recounted, the colt patted Winking Lulu's head. "I understand. What you need right now is a muffin." What? Before the young foal could react, a dark blue portal opened before her, and she was pulled through to the other side by the stallion. When she realized it, she was no longer at the edge of the forest, but in front of a pastry shop. 6 muffins to start, and 2 cups of sweet milk. "Okay, Mr. Spiral," the stallion ordered with ease. Placing the menu beside the table, the waiter nodded respectfully and went inside to notify the kitchen to prepare the meal. "Sir, I didn't bring any money. Don't worry. It's my treat today." Spiral pulled out a chair for the attentive Lulu and watched her take a seat. She seemed a bit shy, glancing at the surrounding customers. Those parents who had come with their children. In the past, she had never visited such a place alone. However, after catching the aroma of baked goods, all her unease transformed into anticipation. She hadn't eaten anything since morning, and her stomach had been growling for a while. "Your meal, Mr. Spiral." "Thank you, Ross." Spiral used magic to roll up 2 bits of hay as a tip and place them in the waiter's pocket. "Wait, did we get the wrong order? There are 2 extra muffins." "No, Mr. Spiral, thank you for helping me catch the train last time." The young foal blew on the pastry, licked her lips, and took a bite. then began to devour it without caring whether it was hot or not. Haha, it's delicious, right? Little Duo loves the muffins from this shop the most. Whenever she's in a bad mood, she comes here. The stallion leaned on the table, watching the adorable way the young foal ate, and the image of another child seemed to appear before him. What? Does silly Little Duo also? Cough, cough. The young foal, who was hurriedly asking, was choked by the muffin, covering her neck and coughing. Luckily, the stallion quickly handed her a cup of sweet milk, allowing her to finish her unfinished sentence. Does silly Little Duo also like to eat muffins here? Yes, I brought you here because you two are so alike, like sisters. So I thought, would you like the same things? Hearing the stallion's words, the young foal stuffed 2 more muffins into her mouth. Ding, the clock tower chimed. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, we're all full, let's go digest. The table was cleared, and the last sip of milk was downed. Spiral stood up, took a few steps, then invited the young foal. Lulu looked up at Spiral's face under the sun, hesitated for a moment, and then took his outstretched hoof to climb onto his back. But as his large, dreamlike wings spread wide, the young foal's sporadic unease was replaced by excitement. Hold on tight. Boom, after a loud sound, they soared straight up, piercing through the clouds. And this time, it was not just that. What they wanted was to ascend to the heavens. Woohoo! Ha-ha! After the laughter, she looked at the stallion with expectation. And he gave the answer that every child wanted to hear. Let's go to Cloud City. Their figures fell and stepped onto the cloud layer. The young foal slowly slid down, tentatively stepping on the cloud ground. For her, who had been a Pegasus, it was the first time she stepped into the city of Pegasi. Cloud City. This place that had rejected her was now beneath her feet. In that moment, an indescribable emotion took over the young foal's heart. It was not happiness, nor was it sadness. But she did not resent this feeling. Instead, she hoped for more time to experience it. No other pony has ever taken me to play like this before. Thank you, Mr. Spiral. Spiral led the young foal into the food street of Cloud City, and upon hearing her words of gratitude, he simply patted her head. Every little pony in Ponyville is my child, and you are no exception, Lulu. And taking care of children is a parent's responsibility. As the stallion's words fell into her ears, the young foal thought of her own parents, lowered her head, and fell silent. However, this gloom quickly dissipated when Spiral handed her cotton candy, swallowed along with it, vanishing without a trace. Lulu, do you like the feeling of flying? I do. Do you want to experience that feeling yourself? The young foal fell silent. Even though she regarded the once flightless gray Pegasus as an idol, she was very aware that her wings were not that simple. A bird without wings flaps non-existent wings, escapes the cage, but cannot fly to the sky. I have a way to help you fly again, child. But before her stood another child who wanted to give the wingless a new set of wings. In exchange, please let me hear the answer of a brave one. Lulu tightly closed her eyes, resisting the loneliness in her heart, and finally, blurted out the deepest answer. I want to fly. No matter what, I am willing to pay any price. I don't want to be a Pegasus who can never fly. I want to make all the ponies who laughed at me shut up. The young foal used all her strength, turning all her unwillingness into the only shout of her life. Perhaps it was precisely because no one had cared before that it now echoed like thunder. Very good. The stallion was the first witness. And now, he needed to make all the ponies hear this unwavering voice. When the potion succeeds, my wings will have lost sensation. So I don't know how the healing process will be. Walking to an open space without ponies, Spiral took out the orange potion he had prepared earlier and handed it to the young foal. After the excitement, his face showed more worry. Unlike modification and treatment, congenital deformities could only be solved with potions. He was unsure if Lulu was really ready. It might hurt, but the young foal smiled, wanting to reassure the stallion. Then, she took the potion and drank it all in one go. It's okay, it definitely won't hurt so much that I can't fly. In Spiral's view, another swaying shooting star crossed the sky until at that moment, he finally understood that Lulu was no one's follower. She was the unwavering vision in her heart. Ponyville's boundary. The stallion flew down through the clouds, slowly descending to the ground, while the young Pegasus beside him awkwardly shook her wings, trying to stabilize her landing. But in the end, she still fell with all 4 hooves in the air. However, even so, there was still a joyful smile on the young foal's face. The wings were really numb and painful, as if all the pain she had ever felt since birth was compressed into this moment. But at least she could finally use them to fly, instead of just watching them flap desperately while her hooves remained on the ground. Mr. Spiral. Watching the setting sun, the young foal opened her mouth, and in the end, she spoke the farewell words. Hearing that last word, Lulu was momentarily dazed. But in the end, she regained her spirits and nodded. Home. Yes, it's home. She lives there, with walls, food, and water. It's home. The young foal flapped her wings and flew in front of the stallion, slowly flying along. They passed through streets and alleys, through the bustling market, moving very slowly. Very slowly. We're here, Mr. Spiral. The young foal looked at the empty building and slowly lowered her head. In the end, however, she managed to force a smile for the stallion. Okay. What's wrong, my child? I understand now. You need muffins. Come on, let's go to Cloud City. Lulu, do you want to experience that feeling yourself? Pata, there are no dads or moms here, only an empty house. I don't want to stay here, this isn't home at all. In the stallion's embrace, the young foal loudly accused the injustice. She held tightly onto his neck, refusing to let go. Silly child. And the remaining feathers gently wiped away her tears, planting the seeds of love again. Extra. At that time, in the clouds. Subtitle, Family. Haha, come on. Mr. Spiral is about to start telling a story. The purple-maned young foal waved to the two foals behind her and flew into the shop first. Ever since she could fly, she hadn't walked on her hooves in front of other foals. Wait for me, Lulu. Apple Lily shouted to her as she ran into the store. Only Sweetheart Baby hesitated a bit. She had promised to help her sister watch the house today and wasn't sure if she could catch up. Wait for me. But seeing her friends entering the store, Sweetheart Baby ultimately overcame her sense of responsibility and followed them with a smile. A long, long time ago, the Genius Unicorn Magic Academy had just been established, and the story begins in one of its classes. At that time, there was a unicorn with exceptional talent in the class. Her name was Radiant Twilight. However, the more brilliant a horse is, the greater the shadow it casts. The other little ponies in class were overshadowed by this powerful aura, and Radiant Twilight's arrogant and exclusive attitude made it hard for everyone to breathe, except for one little pony. His talent was very poor, even terrible, but he was friendly, talkative, and eager to help others, so the little ponies in class were always more willing to be friends with him. He could be said to be the complete opposite of Radiant Twilight, one proud and strong, the other easygoing and weak. The little ponies in class quickly noticed this and often compared the two during their breaks. But Radiant Twilight could not stand this. She couldn't tolerate being compared to a useless commoner when she was the best student of the Cosmic Princess. So, this optimistic little pony soon faced her wrath. The next day, in front of the whole class, Radiant Twilight threw the little pony's most precious book from a high building into the pond below. And in the end, the little pony who picked up that book while cleaning the streets was me, Spiral Twilight. Ah, the children exclaimed. Come on. It's just a street sweeper as the main character? Haha. All right, kids, no more jokes. The story we are about to tell has just begun. Stretching his hooves under the bookshelf to the old corner, he pulled out the first pop-up book and gently blew away the dust that had accumulated over the years. The stallion slowly opened the real book he was about to tell, a book adorned with false gold edges, only to complete the unheard-of research within it. Herbs, biology, potions, magic, mathematics, geography. The encyclopedia's breadth made little Spiral ecstatic. For someone with such wide-ranging interests who only had a half-hearted approach to everything. This book was his lifeline to obtaining his cutie mark. That's right. He was the last among his peers to earn a cutie mark. Mr. Spiral is just like us. Apple Lily, lying on the blanket with her hooves propping up her cheeks, listened intently, her eyes shining. Meanwhile, Sweetheart Baby leaned in closer and eagerly asked, so, what happened next? Did you get your cutie mark? It took some time. Back then, he climbed mountains, crossed ridges, walked through scorching sands, and braved cold waves just to personally explore the knowledge in the book and search for rare items. For a land pony who couldn't use magic, the study of potions, which could achieve various magical effects, undoubtedly fascinated him the most, so he collected the most herbs. When he finally held the last herb depicted in the catalog, he closed his door, refused visitors, and began his lonely yet joyful research alone. And when he concocted his first potion, his cutie mark finally appeared. What was it? A broom. Ah, sir, that's a lie. How could studying potions lead to a broom as a cutie mark? And you don't have a cutie mark now. Apple Lily lifted Spiral's coat, pointing at his empty backside. The other little ponies, realizing the truth, looked at the stallion. Haha, kids, it's just covered by scales. But it really is a broom. But why? Why a broom? Well, the meaning of a broom is cleanliness and sweeping. But it doesn't say what to clean or who to sweep for. Mr. Spiral, what does this mean? You'll know in the future. It's still too early for you to understand this story. Spiral pulled out a box of lollipops from somewhere and distributed them to the surrounding little ponies, finally shifting their focus away from the cutie mark. Then he continued to turn the pages of the book. All right, let's continue. In fact, there was another reason why little Spiral focused on studying potions. The pony who adopted him had become disabled 3 years ago. She was a Pegasus, and her wings were her most precious treasure. But disasters are always merciless. During a long-distance flight to deliver a message, She was struck by lightning and fell to the ground, breaking her wings and could never flap them again. At that time, the medical and living conditions for ponies were terrible, and the relationships among the three tribes were far from harmonious. Not to mention that they couldn't even afford to eat. Even if they had the means, they couldn't find a unicorn who could heal with magic. Yet she persevered. If she couldn't fly to deliver messages, then she'd run with the land ponies. But how long had it been since she last ran? No pony knew. But the injuries from countless falls were well known. As spring and winter alternated, the unforgiving years left terrifying marks on her face and body. Yet she was already grateful for the meager pay that wasn't spent on herself. She could have spent money on treatment, but chose to feed Spiral instead. Little Twilight had always kept this in mind. Big Spiral would never forget. He had to concoct a potion that would allow her to fly again. 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Even if it cost him his entire life, he would make sure she could fly once more. So he spent countless days and nights in a cramped laboratory. His gray-white beard was shaved off again and again. Failed potions were replaced with new ones repeatedly. When he finally looked in the mirror after many years, he could hardly recognize himself. But at least, the potion was completed. At the very least, at least. So, she must have been cured, right? Sweetheart Baby's eyes brimmed with tears as she looked at the stallion with anticipation. After a long silence, the stallion finally smiled and gave the answer. Yes, he cured her. And she lived happily ever after. With that, the little ponies around them sighed in relief, eagerly leaning in closer to await the stallion to turn the next page of the book. Did that long-awaited potion really get used? Chapter 16. The spirit of the bug pony. The candy at home was almost gone. Little Bug Cocoon patted her little belly. How about going out for a walk? But she couldn't bully the little ponies anymore. It was so boring. Sigh. Thus, Little Bug Cocoon lay on the bed, starting to imagine a scene where she ruled Ponyville. At that time, she would make all the little ponies her slaves, bringing her food every day. No, it seems like many little ponies already bring her food, but they always want to touch her head. Humph, her head isn't that easy to touch. Then, let them all massage her and pamper her feet. Anyway, just make them her slaves. Sigh, still so boring. It would be better to go out and play. With that thought, little Illusion jumped off the bed and, as usual, used magic to turn her membranous wings into feathers. Then she stuffed the last fruit candy from the bedside table into her mouth. With a bang, she kicked the door open and ran down the stairs. Sister. Seeing the light gray mare cleaning the store, Little Bug Cocoon immediately approached and stood in front of the broom. What's wrong, Little Bug Cocoon? The elder sister, who had always been able to discern her younger sister's tone indicating a new request, smiled and rubbed Little Bug Cocoon's face. I want to go out and play. All right, but don't run too far. Okay. Little Illusion agreed wholeheartedly, and as soon as she turned around, a mischievous look flashed across her face. I'm going out now. Walking down the street, Little Horn looks left and right, only to find that the town is still peaceful, with nothing new happening. It's not that she dislikes it, but compared to before, Ponyville has become much less interesting. She still prefers the day when Nightmare Moon appeared, when everyone was holding weapons. Hey, Bug Cocoon. The youthful call reached her ears, and Little Horn looked in the direction of the voice. A red-maned, light yellow pony was next to another orange filly, and behind them was their apple stand. When she looked at them, the yellow pony waved her hoof and smiled. What a strange pony. She used to party with her friend, that light purple one with a little broken crown. What was her name again? Forget it, too lazy to remember. Seeing you looking so silly, I'll just say hi. Hi. When Bug Cocoon waved her hoof back, Apple Bloom smiled even brighter. Unfortunately, she still had to work hard to earn the cute Apple logo for selling apples, so she didn't have time to play with other fillies. Bye. Little Bug Cocoon didn't plan to stay either. Seeing the red-maned filly throw herself back into her sales work, she picked up her hooves and moved forward. Little Bug Cocoon. Hello, Little Bug Cocoon. However, as she walked further, more and more ponies started greeting Little Horn. Although she didn't understand why they liked to do this every time, Bug Cocoon didn't have the spare energy to greet each of them one by one. So, she squinted her eyes, raised her head high, pretending to be indifferent, and hopped past the crowd of ponies. However, the ignored ponies looked at Bug Cocoon and secretly laughed, which puzzled her. So cute. You're the cute one. Your whole family is cute. The ponies exchanged glances and burst into laughter again. Bug Cocoon, feeling annoyed, scratched her head and hurriedly fled from this troublesome place. Humph, I won't stoop to your level. Thinking this, Little Horn galloped away until the laughter around her faded into silence, and then she slowed her pace. Only then did she realize that she had unknowingly run to a very sweet-looking building. A cake shop? Oh, those new flavored candies seem to be made by them. That pink pony should be out today, right? Sneaking through the door crack, Little Horn quietly made her way to the front counter. Mrs. Cake saw the little guest who had come alone and asked, "Oh, little bug cocoon, is there something I can chew?" Seeing Little Horn looking around cautiously, Mrs. Cake understood and lowered her voice. "Is there something I can help you with?" Just as Bug Cocoon was about to speak, the words got stuck in her throat. She could feel something terrifying had unknowingly crept up behind her. Little Bug Cocoon. That's right, it was the pink-maned pony, Pinkie Pie. She was holding 2 large pieces of cake, calling out without hesitation to initiate an exhilarating chase. "Don't run. You're the only pony in Ponyville who hasn't tried my birthday cakes. Just take a bite. I promise you'll love them. Please." The 2 ponies chased each other, with Bug Cocoon running desperately but unable to open up the distance. She really didn't know how Pinkie was running so fast with 2 hooves. Pow! A piece of cake hit the side of Bug Cocoon, momentarily slowing her down, but she quickly reacted and continued fleeing from the terrifying pink pony. Pinkie, looking at the tilted cake, licked her lips and squinted with a smile. "Can't waste it." With that, she gobbled the cake into her mouth. So good. Don't run. So good. The cycle continued. Haha. Little Bug Cocoon finally exhausted her energy and stood still, panting with her tongue out. "Don't run." But the cake showed no mercy. Thud. This time, the cake hit her squarely in the face, sending Little Bug Cocoon flying through the air and landing in a pile of hay in slow motion. In a daze, Bug Cocoon instinctively licked her lips, the fluffy cream melting in her mouth like clouds, sweet as candy. Her eyes lit up, and she immediately sat up, using her hooves to scrape the cake off her face and into her mouth. Seeing Little Horn finally enjoying the cake, Pinkie Pie smiled with satisfaction, walking over and ruffling her stubborn little mane. "Don't worry, Sister Pinkie has plenty of cake." As she spoke, the pink-maned pony pulled out another piece of cake from behind her and placed it in front of Little Horn. "You're not my sister." Little Bug Cocoon wanted to shout at Pinkie, but the cake was too delicious for her to open her mouth. Burp. After eating her fill in the cake shop, she looked at the clock shop on the street. 3:30. Seems like there's still some time. How about walking around a bit to digest? Having made up her mind, Little Bug Cocoon ate cake and sang, turning towards the Everfree Forest. In the recent chase with the pink-maned pony, she had seen some interesting things there. But what exactly was it? Arriving at the scene, Little Bug Cocoon looked at the 2 large, intertwined spiral horn statues in front of her and wondered. The statues were covered in incomprehensible symbols, and the gaps in the horns flickered with a faint red light. If she listened closely, it seemed she could hear the chaotic whispers within. Unconsciously, Little Bug Cocoon had placed her hooves on the divine seal. "Who?" The suddenly appearing voice startled Little Bug Cocoon, and she quickly turned her head to look. But she found it was a sheep? A horse? A light pink filly with fur like a sheep. At that moment, she was staring straight at her, foolishly sticking out her tongue. "What do you want? Don't come any closer." Then the creature licked her mane. After hesitating for a few seconds, the furry being showed a happy expression and immediately dove into the grass. Left standing there, Little Bug Cocoon cautiously opened her eyes, staring blankly at the spot where the creature had disappeared. She touched her head, and now, the only evidence of that strange creature's appearance was a few long pink hairs she had brushed off while licking herself. At 5 p.m., Little Bug Cocoon absent-mindedly pushed open the door to the stationery store. Meanwhile, the filly who had just prepared lunch placed the plate on the table. "Want to have lunch together?" "What?" Little Bug Cocoon turned her head to look. The mysterious furry creature was now standing next to her. "Pululu." It stuck out its tongue at the filly. How did you follow me?" Before Little Bug Cocoon could finish her sentence, the furry creature jumped onto her, its long and fluffy fur blocking her face, preventing her from finishing her words. "Haha, you two seem to get along well." "I'm not." Every time Little Bug Cocoon tried to say something else, the furry creature would gently cover her mouth with its hoof. "Pululu." The furry creature pulled out a heart-shaped note from its thick pink fur and handed it to Little Bug Cocoon. Impatiently, she snatched the note and, under the happy gaze of the furry creature, read the words written on it. "My name is Fluff. Can you be my friend?" "What?" Little Bug Cocoon's furrowed brows gradually relaxed. She looked up, only to find that the creature who introduced itself as Fluff had vanished just like when they first met. At its hooves, there was also a purple-maned, orange-skinned filly. About Fluff, it is the first high-quality fan creation that the author encountered, and its excellent production greatly shocked the author during their childhood. Whether it will appear again in the future depends on the thoughts of the audience. Chapter 17. The storm approaches with a rustle. The new page of the calendar was turned. The colt, who had been in the laboratory for 5 days prior to today, found his sense of time somewhat blurred. However, upon seeing the blue circle on today's date, he immediately understood. Project 04, enter the experiment. The colt muttered softly to himself, leaning against the experimental table, gazing at the row of potions emitting a soft blue glow. His hoof slowly reached out towards Mr. Spiral. Just then, Two youthful voices came from behind. The colt turned to see the bright and lively Lulu and the little bug cocoon standing at the laboratory door. Unexpectedly, the interaction between the two of them was surprisingly harmonious. Was it because they were both young colts? Or was there some special connection? The colt glanced at the clock, 5:12. Today's cooking speed seemed to have increased significantly. It's time for dinner. Let's go. Without waiting for more words, the little bug cocoon rushed over, nudging the colt's hoof, urging him to hurry to the dining table. Although Lulu still seemed a bit shy, she also flew to his side. All right, let's eat. Coming back to his senses, Spiral smiled slightly, scooping both little colts onto his back. Amid their laughter, they left the laboratory and headed to the dining table. Yet, no one noticed that the open bottle had already begun to react violently. Bang! The bottle shattered, and the liquid came into contact with the outside air, rapidly evaporating into gas, eventually seeping out of the ventilation duct. At the Golden Oak Library, books and items were flying everywhere. The unicorn stood firmly on the floor, but the mare was clearly still not awake. She closed her eyes, seemingly about to fall asleep again, completely unaware that her magic was running rampant in the library. Swish! A toothbrush and a cup of water appeared beside her, starting to brush the unicorn's teeth. This commotion finally woke her up. In her dazed state, she spat out the foam in her mouth, which was caught by a nearby basin that had moved over. Ziyue, the young dragon, who witnessed the whole thing, weakly called out, "Oh, Suilong." At that moment, a hand made of gathered magic patted the young dragon's head, the cold touch sending shivers down his spine. Ziyue moo, just as she couldn't swallow anymore. Fresh milk was squeezed into her mouth. Moo, bang. But within a few seconds, the now ineffective cow was tossed downstairs. Suilong leaned against the fence, looking at its pitiful state, feeling a pang of sympathy. Ziyue, don't you think you seem a bit strange today? What are you talking about, Suilong? I've never felt this good before. Ziyue patted Suilong's head again, but when she opened her eyes, she realized she wasn't stepping up the stairs, but rather on books that had automatically flown to her feet to take her to the second floor. She tried to dispel the magic on the books, but found she couldn't control these floating objects at all. Oh, well, I guess it is a bit strange. In the afternoon, the colt, carrying a large bag of red potions, knocked on the door of the Golden Oak Library. I'm very sorry, Ziyue. This is probably due to a potion leak. Spiral's face was filled with guilt, and he sighed from time to time since sitting down. Oh, Mr. Spiral, actually I'm fine. I kind of miss this uncontrollable state of magic. The unicorn smiled, and a set of tea utensils appeared in front of the two horses, brewing each a cup of rich black tea. However, it seems like they keep multiplying and can't be dispelled. That's right, they should be controllable and freely proliferating. But the amplification of this potion is still unstable and completely uncontrollable. During my experiment, an old potion underwent an unknown vaporization. Now many ponies in Ponyville are experiencing varying degrees of power surges. The colt nodded at the floating teacup and took a sip of the black tea. The taste seemed quite nice. The usually grumpy-looking pony had a slight smile now. No, this seems to make him look even more like a grandpa. Fortunately, the components that haven't been found will quickly lose their effectiveness under sunlight. But Lara has destroyed that batch of old potions, and I'm currently looking for other ponies experiencing power surges to distribute the antidote to them. Ziyue took the potion handed to her by Spiral, drank it, and noticed that the surrounding items gradually lost their magic and began to float down, finally letting out a sigh of relief. Then, Mr. Spiral, let me help you distribute them. The unicorn tried to cast a spell, and seeing that they returned to normal, she smiled. Is your schedule all right? Spiral asked, somewhat puzzled. However, the young dragon stepped forward just in time to reveal his mother's daily routine. It's fine. Ziyue organizes the books every day. Forget I said anything. The young dragon shrank his neck and quickly left the two ponies' sight. Ziyue also reorganized her thoughts in the conversation. My friends might also be affected by the potion. I need to go check on them. I understand. Then shall we set off now? Let's go now? The two ponies acted immediately, pushing the door open. Whoosh. Just as the two ponies stepped out the door, a dazzling rainbow light flashed before them. Under this rainbow light, everything around seemed to turn into slow motion. However, if one looked closely, they would realize that this rainbow light was merely a blur left by a pony moving at high speed. It was none other than Rainbow Dash. No, now she should be called Rainbow Blitz. She leisurely pulled out her sunglasses and put them on, accompanied by a soothing melody. Beep, beep, doo-doo, beep, beep, doo-doo, beep, beep, doo-doo. In the music, Rainbow flipped, backflipped, and performed various difficult gymnastic moves in front of the two ponies. Finally, she stopped to enjoy the oblivious look on the unicorn's face, covering her mouth and giggling. She pulled out a straw from behind and aimed it at the unicorn's windblown. distorted face. Puff. The paper ball hit right in the middle of her forehead. Puff ha ha ha. Covering her mouth, Rainbow couldn't hold back any longer and burst out laughing. Oh no. And at normal speed, more paper balls had already been blown onto Ziyue. As the number increased, the unicorn's face turned redder and redder. And fearing that it would ignite the spiral, he quickly conjured a shield to block the giant paper ball that could no longer be considered a paper ball. Oh, thank you. Ziyue looked gratefully at Spiral, then shouted towards the still flickering rainbow light. Enough. Rainbow. The rainbow light abruptly stopped. The prank was exposed. And Rainbow scratched her head in embarrassment, chuckling a couple of times. Seeing her like this, Ziyue took a deep breath, but ultimately couldn't hold back and shouted, "What if it hits my eyes?" It wasn't until 5 minutes later that Ziyue finally calmed down. After explaining to Rainbow the reason she could only maintain high-speed status. Rainbow, feeling ashamed, readily took the potion and downed it all. Seeing the two ponies' speed return to normal, they continued on their journey to distribute the antidote. Hey, don't run. It must be the shadow magic cult that's after you. Don't be afraid. I'll help you get better right now. Hee hee. Just as they stepped onto the street, a familiar voice entered their ears. The unicorn looked in the direction of the sound and found a pink mane mare wearing a strong pony vest. Her face painted with red war stripes, recklessly chasing after the ponies on the street. It wasn't that everyone couldn't beat her, but who would stand still when they saw a crazy mare wildly swinging her hooves in the street? Especially one who could smash the floor with a single hoof. Take this punch. At this moment, she had spotted the unicorn and the colt, charging towards them at high speed, a hoof aimed directly at the unicorn's face. Why not attack the colt? The answer lies in the unique sensitivity of a strong magnetic field, knowing who couldn't be beaten. Biki, I'm Ziyue, have you gone mad? Fortunately, the unicorn reacted quickly and used teleportation magic to circle behind it. Upon hearing her name, the pink-maned divine steed seemed to temporarily regain her senses, holding her hooves to her head and lowering her gaze. Ziyue? But soon, she revealed a cunning smile. Take this punch. 990,000 friendship magic. I, Biki, will unleash my explosive punch. Ziyue, you shall be defeated. So fast. With such a powerful move, how could Ziyue possibly withstand it? Bang. It could definitely be easily dodged. Just as the punch was about to hit, a bottle of antidote smashed against her forehead. The moment the blue liquid made contact, the pink-maned divine steed returned to normal. She shook her head, sitting on the ground, looking at her hooves as if she couldn't believe her actions moments ago. What was I doing? How could I, Biki, be such a horse? I. Bang. Before she could finish her sentence, Ziyue stomped her hoof down, and Biki's eyes immediately cleared. Oh Ziyue, Grandpa Spiral, would you like some cake? The pink-maned divine steed pretended to have completely forgotten, pulling out 2 paper cupcakes from behind and handing them to the 2 horses. Spiral and Ziyue exchanged glances and then laughed together. Whether it was premeditated or just coincidental, there was now only 1 vial of the potion left that Spiral had brought, and the 2 horses had only 1 place left to check. Ruru. Calling out her friend's name, Ziyue and Spiral walked into the eternal endless forest. Just as they pushed open the door, they found the pale yellow pony was not in the room. It was that cute little white rabbit who informed Spiral of their owner's whereabouts. Ziyue, no need to shout. She's right ahead. The stallion extended his hoof, pointing to a clearing in the distant forest. At that moment, the Chicken Dragon clan was sitting in a circle, and in the middle was Ruru and the Chicken Dragon leader, the very one who had been injected with the potion. It seemed he had been doing quite well these past few days. Kaijir, you really know how to tell jokes. Is that so? Ha. The Chicken Dragon, sensing the newcomers, turned to look, and the laughter instantly stopped, replaced by cold sweat, for the arrivals were none other than the residual Twilight Spiral, their king, and he was completely unprepared, still laughing with others. Ahem. He quickly composed himself, but noticed that the visitor had winked at him. Kaijir understood and relaxed his stiff body. Ruru, how did you end up here? Ziyue wanted to say something, but upon seeing the tall and fierce-looking chicken snakes nearby, her voice weakened again. Oh, Ziyue, Mr. Spiral, this is Kaijir, the leader of the chicken dragons. Don't worry, chicken dragons are actually a very friendly species. They just rarely communicate with outsiders. Gah. Kaijir said something to Ziyue, but to her, who had neither draconic vocal organs nor enhanced narrative abilities, it sounded like a piercing scream. He said hello. The pale yellow pony and the stallion said simultaneously. Mr. Spiral, you can understand their words now? Contrary to the heavens and the earth, Kaijir wanted to say loudly, but considering the king's feelings, he pretended not to understand and tilted his head. We communicated a long time ago. Even if I didn't understand at first, over the years I've learned a bit. Ah, that's great. I had many issues with the little animals before because I couldn't understand the chicken dragon language. Just this morning, I suddenly discovered I could communicate with them. Ziyue nodded and smiled at Ruru. That's right. It seems this is the enhancement the potion brought you. Compared to other ponies, this enhancement is indeed beneficial. P-potion? What are you talking about? I seem to not quite understand, Ruru said with some confusion. But she vaguely felt that she might lose the newly acquired language ability and unconsciously tightened her grip on the teacup in her hoof until the unicorn revealed the truth to her ear. So that's how it is? It seems I need to work hard to learn the chicken dragon language. That gentle expression made the two horses present pause. Meanwhile, Kaijir, who had been standing nearby, nodded appreciatively. The first time he saw this girl trying to communicate despite the language barrier, he understood her kind nature. This was also the reason he stopped the clan from taking action against her. The stallion looked at the antidote in his hoof, quietly weighing the pros and cons. Remaining silent for a long time. Mr. Spiral. Almost simultaneously, the unicorn and the stallion locked eyes again. The fate of the last vial of antidote was now decided. Night fell. The stallion quietly stood in the laboratory, just like countless nights before. The vial of optimized potion, emitting a bluish-black glow, reflected his countless faces. Beneath his emotionless eyes, after a moment, he finally made a move. Click. Just like eating a piece of cake. Just like taking a sip of hot cocoa, he naturally opened the sealed cap of the potion, watching it transform into a cold gas. Pouring out of the fully open ventilation pipe, spreading over the town, he simply watched. Project 05, enter the experiment.